The Gun Shop Show, the Gun Shop Show. What is it? We don't know. The Gun Shop Show, the Gun Shop Show. Here we go, it's the Gun Shop Show.
The boys are back in town.
The boys are back in town.
Rock solo.
This is the Gun Shop Show. I am your long gone returning host.
It's been a while, man.
Yeah, you're going to want to introduce yourself. Okay, you were.
I'm Eli Bruton.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I was formerly the owner of Liberty Tree Guns.
Uh-oh.
Took a 2-week break.
Oh, snap.
Came back, was the owner of Liberty Tree Guns again.
Wow.
Thankfully,
Oh,
all
like a light switch.
the money from that still went into my bank account while I was gone.
Yeah,
good
we
news.
didn't get that set up.
That's
in
good
time.
because what happens is the money comes in,
Yeah.
and then for some reason it goes back out,
Right.
and then
Okay.
some comes in,
Yeah. Okay.
and then it goes back out.
No.
And then some comes in.
Oh, yeah.
and it goes back out.
No.
Sounds to me like you spent some time near an ocean or a beach or something. Sounds like a tide.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens with the bank account.
Wow.
And if you're lucky, sometimes a little bit more stays in than goes back out.
Yeah. If
And
you're
that's
lucky.
the whole thing. And that's how we become your friends in the gun business. Anyway, I'm
It's
glad to
simple
be
math.
back. I'm glad to be back. I'm
We're
glad
glad
to be
you're back.
joined by our producer, Trevor Smith. And glad, as always, to be refreshed with the ever eminent, ever handsome,
In essence.
ever impressive Logan Jones.
I just can't look at myself now without thinking about my dad.
Yeah.
Not liking it.
Every time I see you, especially if I ever see you in a different context, at work, I just think, that's Logan. But I saw you walking up the sidewalk going into Cherry's in the woodshed, with great sponsor of ours, by the way.
Yeah.
You were walking in there because that's a real place that we really all go and
It's
enjoy.
delicious.
Absolutely.
People might not realize that those sponsors are people that we do business with and we trust.
Excellent Rubens, by the way.
Excellent.
The
just
portobello
about
mushroom sandwiches
everything.
are choice.
The only thing that I gotta say,
What's
and
the
I
only
will
thing?
say,
Yeah, what is it?
some of their bathroom candies,
Oh, yeah, the candies from the bathroom.
yeah, they are not the best.
Oh.
First of all, they're this big.
Yeah.
They're about 3 inches around.
Yeah. How thick would you say they are?
Well, it
Oh,
depends.
they're
If I
thick.
go around the first of the month, they're about this thick.
Yeah.
But then by the end of the month, they're
Before you know it's like communion.
a little thinner.
Oh, yeah.
And they're bitter. And they're always wet.
Yeah.
I
They
hate
get
that
stuck in your teeth,
The water
too.
fountains are like really low and you have to scoop them up with your hand.
Yeah.
They don't have water
Tell me
fountains,
about it.
And I have not been eating urinal cakes.
They're called cakes for a reason.
We're going to have some good stuff on the show today.
Yep.
We're going to break down an announcement this week from the Biden administration and the man himself regarding gun control, 4-point approach. So if you didn't catch those this week, we're going to go through those. We're going to listen to the speech, break that down. I'm going to probably inevitably tell you a little bit about what happened to me while I was gone. I may or may not tell the story about singing Happy Birthday in the parking lot of a Bojangles.
What? Well, it's
I said it may or may not.
Mr.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Bojangles.
Yeah. And I may or may not tell you about how people in Florida don't wave. I may or may not tell you about how everyone in Georgia is fat.
wait, what?
Not everyone, just all the people that I happen
You
to
may or
see.
may not tell everybody about that terrible case of fungus that you contracted.
I may or may not.
The toe fungus.
May not tell them. We have two guests coming up. One guest.
I think, we're only scheduled
Depends.
for one.
There's one that I'm excited to get on, and it depends on whether or not we can get him on. But
Yes.
it may or may not involve a world championship squirrel cook-off.
May or
But
may not involve it.
But that guy is squirrely, so we may or may not get him. But I know for certain that we're going to have Mr. Kevin Dixie,
Katie?
who is a very interesting personality and activist in the gun world. So we'll
Has
have-
an incredible story, by the way.
Yes, excited to hear more about
Yeah.
that. So he'll be on. We will break down this news in the gun control arena. and we'll catch up because it's been a little while.
It has been a minute.
while.
So
Yeah.
we got the three compadres back in.
Tree amigos.
And then the other thing I'm going to do,
What else are you gonna
What you
do?
I'm going to give you all stuff.
What?
I'd like
What's
to give
we
you stuff.
winning?
You gonna give him some free stuff?
Yep.
Some of that March.
We got that stuff.
Look at
Oh,
this.
that
Look at
free
this.
stuff.
Yeah. You want a
That's
target?
thick.
Steel target. 3-inch thick, 8-inch gong target.
Nice.
And I'm going to give it to you. And all you have to do is share the feed, tag 5 of your friends in the comments.
friends, yeah. Pretty
We'll
simple.
also announce the winner of the $50 gift card today on the show. So stay tuned. It's going to be good stuff. And
Real good.
I want listeners right now,
That's you guys.
Yeah.
stop what you're doing.
Drop everything.
Get your thumbs out.
Both of them.
Let me know how these guys did while I was gone.
Yeah.
Ooh, yikes,
Tear us
don't do
apart,
that.
guys.
No.
Don't
I
do
mean-
any of that.
Let me know how,
How was
it
that
went.
host?
Because honestly, I didn't test it out between the last time I left you guys alone with the show, which was only a few minutes.
Yo, you mean that one episode where we basically went comatose while you were gone?
I don't remember that.
So I'm curious. Was there 2 episodes that were like 2.5 hours of dead air?
Yeah, I was like, this is the.
Also, that was
was
like
it.
episode 2, I think. So
Yeah.
we've come a long way. We've grown. We're
Significantly.
Yeah. Honestly, I did hear a little bit of feedback, and the word I got on the street was that you guys did a great job.
No.
So thank you. for
keeping
that.
our jorbs.
So we'll check the comments to see if the rest of the people concur, agree with that. The other thing you can do is go to our website and grab some free merch.
Oh, yeah.
I won't
Yes.
spend a lot of time on it, but go to Liberty Tree merch. Look at the freebie things there. We will ship them to you for free. If it's the decal, we'll even pay for the shipping. The other things we ask for a few bucks for shipping.
Heck yeah.
That's so y'all can represent. And I know a lot of you do all across the country. You represent Liberty Tree Guns, and I appreciate that.
Hey, so you know something
Yeah.
we should ask folks to do?
What's
Give
that?
us a little ringy dingy. Give us a call.
Oh, yeah.
Leave us a voicemail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll throw this
It's
up.
been so long, I don't remember the number.
Oh, I've got it right here.
The
Logan.
number
Uh huh. Yeah.
is
208 918 1776.
That's 208-918-1776 for the voicemail number.
Yeah, you're gonna
if
wanna
we
go ahead and
get if
call
we
that.
get any voicemails during the show, we'll try and get to those. But call that number right now, and we
Ask a
will-
question.
Yeah, ask a question, make a statement,
I mean,
make a birthday announcement.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
almost anything goes.
Right.
We'll
Right.
answer, or at least try to answer it.
I'll leave this up on screen for the rest of the show so folks can see the number. They can call us while we're talking to them.
Hey, I think
Yeah.
I saw that lady in Florida.
Yeah.
Did you? Wow.
Was she preparing
world.
for the big dance this Saturday?
Yep, she was. There
It's a-
is a lot of dancing going on there.
A lot.
Oh, I
Lots of
believe you.
dancing.
I believe you.
that's
You know,
true.
I have old photographs of both sets of my grandparents, and doesn't happen today that I know of, but going out and dancing was probably one of the main ways of entertainment at one time.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clubs, what do you call that?
Clubbing.
Yes, clubbing.
Yeah, I think it was called clubbing. Going clubbing. I remember the caption written in cursive at the bottom of the old photo. Grinding.
But in very traditional looking script font, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Of course.
nothing but class from past generations.
Yeah.
You know, it's great to know that this show can reach people all across the country. And I know that it does. We've got responses from people. And I say all across the country, really all across the world. We have listeners that share our show internationally, that listen to our show internationally. We appreciate you. And that would not be possible without the help of our flagship sponsor. That is U.S. Law Shield. And U.S. Law Shield has sort of the, what I will call ethos to match up with what we believe in here on the show, which is you should never be unprepared, really, in all the elements of your life. In fact, traveling in an RV is
snap.
definitely an example of where being prepared matters. If you're not
Yeah.
prepared, it's a bad experience. If you are prepared, it's a great experience. And so being prepared for your self-defense obviously has to do with having the training, having a firearm,
Yeah.
having a comfortable way to carry it, knowing the laws in the areas that you're going to carry. I was able to use some of the resources provided by U.S. Law Shield to know what the laws were in the states that I traveled through. So Alabama, Florida, which states were reciprocal with the Missouri concealed carry permit. Florida, thankfully, is one of those, so I can carry with confidence when I'm down there. But I also carry with confidence knowing that I have no limit coverage for legal protection for my self-protection.
Absolutely.
So knowing that if, God forbid, while I'm traveling, and you're just more aware when you're outside your own surroundings, you're generally, I mean, obviously, if you go into a dangerous area, your statistic likelihood of being the victim of a crime goes up. But
Yeah.
you're just more aware because this isn't my neighborhood. This isn't where I'm from of the potential for risk. U.S. Law Shield provides all of that peace of mind, and knowing that you can have an attorney respond to you wherever you are, including in Florida, for me, just for $10.95 a month. So if you use an attorney for anything, you know that you don't get much for $10.95.
Right.
But with this program, you get
get pretty
unlimited protection by expert self-defense attorneys that will give you great legal representation through anything relating to self-defense. Go to uslawshield.com. Use the promo code LibertyTree, all one word, to get 2 months for free and get platinum protection where your rate will never go up. Stay with us. More on the Gun Shop Show.
Gun Shop Show. We're gonna drop show.
Hey, podcast listeners and live stream viewers. I wanted to let you know that the Gun Shop Show is made possible by our friends at Mid-America RV. Being in the customer service industry, I have a really high standard for how customers are treated. Mid-America RV does it right. I've got my RV through their dealership, and I've taken it all over the country. We made it to South Padre Island. We've gone to Colorado several times. And if you've ever owned an RV, you know there's a lot that comes with it. So who you get it from matters, and it's extremely important that you have support after the sale. They're located just outside of Carthage. They have a really vast inventory, and they are home of, I believe they call it a forever warranty. So I urge you, if you're in the market for one, to check them out. It's a really fun and can be very affordable way to get your trips in. So visit them at midamericarv.com. We appreciate their support of the Gun Shop Show. If you're in the market for a travel trailer or fifth wheel, check out Mid-America RV.
Our member's girlfriend is on her way to pick up her kids from her ex-husband's house. She asked our member to tag along because of her ex's temper. As they arrive at the home, her ex emerges yelling and gesturing. He approaches his ex-wife and grabs her, attempting to drag her inside. Fearing for her life, our member, a trained CHL holder, jumps out of the car with his gun drawn and demands the ex-husband release her. Seeing the gun, the assailant retreats. The situation then takes a bizarre turn as the assailant dials 911 to report our member. As a result of the aggressor's lies, our member was wrongfully arrested. Our member had to undergo lengthy legal proceedings. However, he was ultimately cleared of all charges.
Our evenings, or often on weekends, are spending Friday and Saturday nights on the deck with our friends. Before, everybody would be crowded. We could barely sit together. We were walking on top of each other if everybody was on the deck. Now there's plenty of room for everyone to roam around and relax comfortably and have plenty of space.
Specifically, I know that every post they bury to a certain depth with full concrete. They use 6x6 posts, strapping and hurricane strapping on everything. It's how I feel a deck should be built if it's going to be built right.
This just in. Huge cave found beneath the heart of the city. Spelunkers shared tales of an underground cavern system in Carthage, Missouri. Locals report the entrance to be at 10th and Garrison.
Cave Gang Pizza.
Stop in and enjoy wings, wood-fire pizza made with local ingredients, and our full bar. Bring the whole gang and uncover a legend.
Hey there. We got your lab results back. It looks like you have a fever, and the only prescription is more Gun Shop Show.
Welcome back to the Gun Shop Show. We have an awesome guest coming up, and we'll get with him in just a second. But I want to remind you, if you want to win today's prize, which is a steel shooting target, AR-500 steel, this is a 3/8 stick, so it's going to work for many rifle calibers, pretty much all pistol calibers, and that's a 8-inch steel target. You can win that today simply by sharing the feed and tagging 5 of your friends in the comments, and you really have good odds of winning. And
always,
if you've never shot steel targets and you've always shot paper targets, you might not realize just how much fun it is to not have to go look at your target, not have to set it up again. You know if you're hitting. It's a lot of fun to shoot steel, and it can be done in a safe way. So make sure you share the feed and tag 5 of your friends. But we need to save all the time we can to get with our guest, Mr. Kevin Dixie of No Other Choice Firearms Training. He does that and so many other things. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us on the Gun Shop Show.
No, I appreciate you guys having me, man. Thank you so much for allowing me to come on with you.
So as I understand, you're a firearms trainer, but there's like more of a mission, a deeper purpose to the things that you do. So can you tell us kind of what it is that drives you? Why are you in the Second Amendment space?
A little interesting story. I'll keep it brief, but I'm just for a backstory. I am the guy that the news media loves to talk about. You know, the urban kid that's not going to make it, that's going to be dead, that's going to be a criminal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's how I grew up. So I always wanted to do something different for the people in my community. I'm not going to say I wasn't a product in a negative way of my community for a while, but, you know, we all reached a point in life where we turn things around. And I was able to do that. And I always tried to help bring my friends and even strangers along. And when I was 21, I took a job at the St. Louis City PD. I worked in our prisoner processing division. And I was already advocating for human and civil rights in my own way, already fighting for it, doing a lot of studying, challenging local politicians and even community leaders that I thought was doing the wrong thing. And then it was one day I was standing and I was just having a conversation with some buddies down at the PD. And I knew what the Second Amendment was, but it was an epiphany just hit me. We were sitting there discussing guns and gun rights because Missouri was expanding their gun rights at the time. And we were having a conversation about that. And I was just standing there, man. It was like a ton of bricks. I was like, you know what? All this stuff that I've been studying when it comes to civil rights and human rights for, you know, the last little 8-9 years of my little young life at this time, it all ties back into guns. Every last single thing. And that's when I realized from then studying the Second Amendment more and having more conversations directly related to it, I realized the Second Amendment was very vital. Not only was it a civil and human right, it's very vital to protect everything that I had been mentioning throughout history. One thing that they always lacked was firearms. And even when they had them, it was inadequate arms and education and information. So I realized then that the Second Amendment was it was the backbone. It was the steroid. It was the defense mechanism to all the other human and civil rights that I wanted to protect and enhance. And so from there, obviously being at a PD, I had already been learning about firearms and things of that nature. So I decided to bring the Second Amendment in with what I was doing and become a learn the right way. I wanted to teach people the right way. And so I did. I studied under some really, really great guys for a while. Branched out of my own, started No Other Choice Firearms Training, and also coupled it with my community outreach program, Aiming for the Truth. And with Aiming for the Truth, that's what I have been doing for so many years, is reaching out and fixing the issues that cause the machine, the human being, to be violent, right? Not blaming a gun, a car, a brick, a bat, fire, or anything else. How can we fix the machine? So we help people deal with mental health issues. We help people address fatherless households and how we can improve that, job skills, literacy skills, different things like that on a community level that people need assistance with, right? Mentorship, being a positive role model inside the school system for they can see positive black men, not just black men that they see in gangster movies and on videos and things like that. So we're a part of the school system. I go in every year, adopt a classroom, help the teacher out. We've donated to different programs at the school, from getting kids uniforms to have their play buffets to feeding families that were starving to buying shoes for kids in the hallway that just barely had on anything that I would want my kids to walk out the house with. So doing different stuff like that to really be a positive impact on the community. And that's what I call aiming for the truth. To date, we've even put 120 fathers back into the life of their children, right? To kind of fix those generational gaps and those generational curses. So that's what I do. And then go around the country and have the privilege of speaking and helping families and teaching Americans how to defend themselves and stay alive.
It's so very impressive. And I wanted to make sure because, obviously those that are watching on the Facebook live stream or watching on our partners on television, they're able to see you and they see this interview. But a big portion of our audience are, terrestrial radio listeners or podcast listeners. And so until you mentioned the positive black role model, some of them might have not realized you are a black man. And you described, some challenges with the way that you were brought up in the community. And I think that one of the things that maybe is not overwhelmingly obvious is that the conditions are not the same in the black community. Gun culture has not traditionally been the same. So for you to bring such a positive influence, can you tell us a little bit about that background? You may not want to get into, some of the stuff you alluded to about how you came up, but talk a little bit about that if you could.
You can get, and we don't have time today. It would take hours to really dig deep into this, but a lot of urban areas are social experiments. When you go back and you start really breaking down history and different things that political figures and other different, let's say the 1% of the world have put forth, doesn't matter what country to go to, all the ghettos, if you will, are social experiments, right? So what they control, and then in our and from those individuals in way of votes and different things like that by providing misleading information and keeping them cut off from the outside world. So I realized early on that, and I can't tell you, it's just I'm a Christian man, so it was just a real moment with God there. But, seeing what I've seen, my house, most people come outside of their house now and what they see on their corner, maybe it'd be a commercial business or just other residents. When I stood outside of my home, 4 homes down, was a tombstone retailer. And directly across the street from that was the city's largest cemetery. Death, murder, and chaos were a part of my everyday life. They just were. It is what it is. So being able to come outside and see that every day and then look at how the different political figures would only show up, right around these times, which, I wasn't even old enough to vote. But when I put it together, like every time it's time to vote for something, you show up, you stand on the street and you tell us that your neighborhood is going to get better. And I'm like, it never did get better. Right. It never did. Actually, it's getting worse. Like every time I see you, things get worse. And I realized then that we were being duped. And I wanted to make sure that people understood that there is life beyond this imaginary border that we have called our neighborhood, right? It's a lot of great things that happen in the neighborhood. I want to make that clear. A lot of great small businesses, a lot of hard workers, a lot of people seeking opportunities, but there's also a lack of information and education that keeps the negativity amplified the way that it is, right? And then when you look at pop culture or mainstream America, they only want to take what's negative about that experience and showcase it. Nobody wants to talk about the hard people. Nobody wants to talk about the victims of the violence in the areas that are like hostage. And why are they hostage? Well, we can get into the socioeconomic reasons. We can talk about the political onslaught. We can talk about all those things, but they are definitely hostage to those situations. Some make it out, some don't. And I just realized then that when it came to what we were seeing, there had to be more to the world. I didn't believe that, God put me on this earth to survive what I survived. I was a kid that was in foster care, and while I was in foster care, I was
Kevin,
molested and sexually abused
on a radio
by a man, right? So
hang on, Kevin, we're going to be right back on our radio break. Hey everyone, the Gun Shop Show is brought to you by Carthage Lock and Key. If you need anything to do with a lock or a key
to success.
Did they tell you to say that?
No, I just thought it sounded good.
They have a mobile service, so they can come to you and cut pretty much any kind of key
to success.
Or if you lock your keys in your car.
Success.
I'm talking even security modern chip keys.
To success.
Trevor, could you just jingle the name of the business?
Okay. Yeah, I'll do it good this time.
So, with all of my properties and all of the needs I have, I trust
Carthage Lock and Key to success.
My name is Chris Anderson. I'm a captain with the San Antonio Police Department. I've been with my agency 27 years. My whole career in law enforcement has been spent with the San Antonio Police Department. I started off as a patrol officer like all others do, patrolling the streets of San Antonio. About 3 years after I was on the department, I made the SWAT team, and I stayed in tactical special operations by virtue of SWAT, the gang units, street crime arrest teams, tactical response units, all types of things in that particular forte until I started to make rank. And I've been a captain for 11 years now, and I've been involved in everything from Homeland Security to patrol operations to the night commander's job, special operations, and now I'm the commander of the Special Investigations Unit. Police officer's job at the scene of a crime is simply to protect the people who are there, prevent further injury or death, preserve physical and testimonial evidence, collect it, and deliver it for processing in a criminal case. We do not determine guilt or innocence at a scene, and it's an important role in our job to remain as neutral and unattached from feelings of guilt or innocence as we can. About 90% of the people that we interact with on the streets at any given time are good, solid citizens who are trying to abide by all the laws that they know. Typically, when they interact with a police officer, it's because they violated something in the things that they don't know. And the Texas Penal Code book and Code of Criminal Procedures, local government laws, family codes, and a variety of other things are in a book that's about 8 inches thick. Most police officers don't know most of the information in it, and naturally that would tend to lead you to understand that most citizens definitely wouldn't know them all. So most of the interactions that police officers in Texas have with normal citizens is involving a law that those folks don't even know exists. Many times, and especially depending upon the level of experience that they have with the job, the speed by which they determine who's an actual suspect and who just may be a person of interest as a witness or possibly a victim is hard to determine initially. Factors that they're aware of at the scene, it all depends on those things to determine whether someone's telling the truth or not. There are obvious cases when someone's trying to deceive us, and there are people who are very good at deceiving the police. At that point, we may take a lot of people into what we term an investigative custody, or make an investigative detention on them for the purpose of determining who the actual suspects, victims, and witnesses might be. And our goal at that time is to legally arrest and take into custody the persons responsible for the crime.
Hey everybody, Eli here, and I'm really excited to tell you that the Gun Shop Show is brought to you by one of my favorite places on earth. Located here in my hometown of Carthage on the beautiful historic square, the Emporium on the square, and the Woodshed. It's a art gallery, an event center, a gift shop. They have art classes, and there's very unique Americana artwork from famous artists like Andy Thomas. They handle a lot of his original framing. Just has this incredible old school vibe, and you can feel the history coming through. Have to check out the art gallery, but then as you work your way to the back, my favorite part, the Woodshed, had a lot of great meals in here. They've got burgers. I love their catfish. Excellent. Chicken and waffles even. It's incredible. And it's also a music venue, so we got to see my favorite band of all time, the Ben Miller Band. Ceiling was literally raining down. They were rocking so hard. But the best thing, owned by one of my favorite people on earth, that's Cherry Babcock. Check out the Emporium on the Square and the Woodshed. Welcome back to the Gun Shop Show. We're going to get right back into it with our guest, Kevin Dixie. Kevin, before the break, we had a hard out, but you were saying you were in the foster care system, so pick right back up there.
Yeah, so being in the foster care system, I was a victim of molestation by a then nearly 30-year-old man when I was between the ages of 4 and 6 years old, right? So that's notable for a reason. Went through that horrible experience rather in life. And then, throughout the course of my young life, got to see a bunch of other traumatic stuff. Not all bad, but enough of it bad. So the first time I even picked up a gun after living in my neighborhood, and I'm from the north side of St. Louis area called Walnut Park. The first time I picked up a gun, due to all the different things that I was struggling with, I actually wanted to commit suicide. That was my first interaction with a firearm. In that manner, me actually holding it. After shooting it with a buddy off his back porch because his parents left it unsecured, which is why we still talk about proper storage and safety today. His parents left it unsecured. We shot it off the back porch of their home. And I thought I was in love with the mechanical aspect of the gun, and it wasn't. I realized, seeing how the thing operated, that it could make all the pain go away, right? And so it was fantasies, dealing with depression and anxiety I didn't know I had. And then a little while later, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety at a young age because of my experiences. And I realized then, like, we can't give up. A gun is not going to be used in that manner. I'm not going to let anything, and this is before I start fighting for gun rights, I'm not going to let anything keep me from my mission in life. I am going to improve not only my conditions, but I'm going to help save everybody else that I can. So I don't subscribe to victimhood. I never have. It's all about what can we do to be a victor and what can we do to maintain whatever our individual's levels of success are. And so fast forward and seeing guns used in the wrong way when it comes to just the gun culture, seeing how guns were used, seeing how they were used to intimidate people. I was robbed. I think the guys in my hood actually just started robbing me for practice. I was robbed so many times, I promise you I was the practice guy. Right? It's like, hey, let's just give this new scheme a work, right? And so I realized that guns were going to be used in a negative manner. And at a young age, I decided that I wanted to defend myself too. So did I obtain a firearm to defend myself? Being a victim. I had to walk through 6 different gang sects just to get to school, right? Just to get to the school bus. So it was definitely wanting to protect myself, but then realizing that, hey, you wanting to protect yourself against people could actually land you in prison. So it was that kind of, come to Jesus moment, if you will. And so that's why now I'm telling people that I know that there are good people to live all over the country in places that maybe the news media makes seem so bad. But we have to understand that good people have a right to defend themselves from bad people, including the bad people called the government. And that you need to be able to be informed, armed, and responsibly armed on top of that. And we have to make sure that we are not enhancing any kind of gun control, that we are enhancing gun rights. I mean, the t-shirt I'm wearing now says, my ancestors paid the price, I'm just a receipt. So for individuals that have already, no matter who you relate to, that have already in history fought the hard fight for us to have the rights and privileges we have today, our job is to expand and maintain. The hard work's already been done, right? We're just supposed to be out there expanding and maintaining, and that's what I want to make sure happens.
I think your story is so compelling because I look at the gap between what my own story, my first introduction to firearms, I grew up in a rural area, did not in the least bit have to worry about my safety outside my house. I didn't have a front row seat to violence. But we weren't a huge gun family. And, now seeing owning a gun store, you would think maybe I grew up hunting and personal defense and all this. That wasn't true. So by the standards of some families, we didn't have a huge gun culture. But I remember the first time we walked out in this tilled field that was next to our house, and I remember just my legs were so little that I could barely step over the rows of dirt and shooting that. And I'll never forget my first experience with guns, but to put that in contrast with what yours was, which was a dangerous unsecured firearm situation, but also in the context of what the impact of that gun was for you at that age is so stark in difference, and really allows you to have such a different perspective on what the impact of gun ownership is on individuals who grew up in a way entirely different than I did. And now you're not only just but you're using that as a form of activism in a really positive way. So in the time we have left, tell us some of the stuff that you're doing and how people can interact with your work and follow you.
The easiest way to follow is nootherchoice.com, all spelled out, nootherchoice.com. On social media, I'm The Real N.O.C, the real N.O.C. I'm most active on Instagram, but it's the real N.O.C for No Other Choice on social media. As far as things coming up, I want to say we just got done doing a great community outreach with a group called the Black Packers down here in East Point, Georgia. We were able, through Aiming for the Truth and the donations we received there, which is GoFundMe.com/Aiming for the Truth, we were able to issue out 10 safes to families to make sure that they left their firearms in a secure manner, and out of the hands of children and things like that.
Great.
Upcoming next, we're going to be supporting the veterans at South Carolina Gun School. I'm donating some products from my website and also my services for firearms training to give back to military service members to make sure that they have the support that they need in their lives. And we have the N.O.C Train and Learn event. This is a 3-day professional development event that's held outside of St. Louis, Missouri for the firearms industry. This is teaching people everything from how to look at analytics, marketing, business plans, promotion of your business, branding, how to brand, how to maintain your brand, how to keep up with the trends and times, to training on the range with 5 different disciplines of instructors, to an entire day of collaboration. So that is a 3-day professional development event that is held outside of St. Louis, Missouri. It is called Train and Learn. That's also can be reached from nootherchoice.com. You can find all the information there. And then from there, it's a busy summer, off to the races. We'll be in Minnesota, Philadelphia, South Carolina, Georgia, Missouri, and I believe Tennessee, giving out firearms training to help get Americans out.
So impressive. And we'll put the links to your website in the show notes so people can go right to it. We have just a little bit of more time, and I want to go back to one thing you said. You gave out a stat right when about your feed cut out and said that you've been able to sort of heal some families, a certain number of families that you said. Can you tell us more about that? I don't know if it was about fatherhood statistics. You remember what I'm referring to?
Hey, that was dealing directly with fathers. So we put 120 dads through my program, Aiming for the Truth. We put 120 fathers back into the lives of their children. And sometimes that means that they actually reunited with the mother and went back into the household. And sometimes it means that they just established a relationship with the child independently. But these were fathers that didn't know what to do. They just didn't. And we realized that, having a dad around is a very important thing. And having an educated father around is just as important, as far as educated about, what to do to love their children. So if we can put dads back into the life, it's snapping those generational curses, is giving young boys and young girls guidance. And these fathers, don't want their kids in trouble. So it's dads back into the life, pushing a positive message, and also giving these kids the support so we don't have entertainment or anything else that are educating our children. They actually have their fathers back, right? And so if we can get dads back into the life of the children, then we can keep the kids from, or we can minimize the kids from doing reckless stuff, right? Because they don't have that father figure there. So that was one of the proudest moments that we've had, is getting that number. We even worked with the NFL to do that. Part of that was done by the NFL, the program they had called All Pro Dad. They reached out. I worked with them for a while, for about a year, and we did about 30 or 40 parents through them, and then the rest we did directly through Aiming.
That's so impressive, so noble. Everything you're doing is sort of outlined with this nobility that comes with the goodness of the causes that you've done. It's so impressive. Please, I know you have to go. You have another commitment, but please let us know what we can do to help with some of those events you're working on, other missions. We have access to a lot of product. We have access to some services. If there's anything we can do, please don't hesitate to reach out. And when you have some more time, we'd love to have you back on the Gun Shop Show.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for the extending your hand out, sending the olive branch. I do appreciate that. I am a talker. People learning about me real quick. I'm so sorry that I have to run early today, but I'm absolutely looking forward to coming back on with you guys. I would love to complete the conversation and get more information out there, but I do appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll see you soon.
Land is everything to me. When I was born, I was brought home to the family farm, was raised, learned work ethic there, learned appreciation and respect for life and the land itself, and it just became second nature. I had to be there all the time. Whenever I wasn't on the land, I was not happy. But I learned to understand the land, learned to respect it, learned family values, My wife and I have bought a farm besides the one we live on, and it has just been it's been a great investment, and it's been someplace that my son and I have shared the passion of hunting together, and it's just land has been everything in my life. It has kind of kept me focused and gave me a place to be. It's kind of kept me grounded.
Hey, you know what makes this, the Gun Shop Show, possible? It's people who believe in the show. And someone who has believed in the show from the very beginning is my good friend Chris Chapman, owner of Whitehead Farm Supply. Here's a message from Chris.
Guys, my name's Chris Chapman, owner of Whitehead Farm Supply, and I just want to take a few seconds here to let you know that we are going to be proud sponsors of the Gun Shop Show, and we appreciate everything that them guys are doing over there, and we just want to show them our support. Thank you.
So whether you have 2 chickens or 2,000 acres, Chris is your man. Give him a call. I guess that's pretty much the ad.
Whitehead Farm Supply.
Seriously?
Always.
Welcome back to the Gun Shop Show. I got to tell you guys, I am happy to be back on the Gun Shop Show.
Yeah, it's great to have you back.
It's been a while, man.
Did you guys feel, were you okay on your own? Were you all right?
So we started here at the bottom. Now we're at the top.
Now we're at the top.
Oh, wow. See, I felt the other way.
Like Drake.
Who's that?
I don't know.
Canadian Tire Drake, huh?
Yeah.
Canadian
That guy that works at Canadian Tire.
I'm bailing on the reference because I barely know.
Right. All you know is Drake.
There's something to do with started at the
bottom, now we're
Yeah, you know.
We started at the bottom and we made it all the way to just above the bottom.
Now we're here,
Well,
did you find it difficult?
I mean, not so much. What I would say is it didn't feel the same. It didn't feel right.
I did something this week that involved 3 necessary components. Tried at various points to consider doing it with one of the 3 missing.
Yeah.
And it was not easy.
Yeah, man. You can't have the 3 amigos with 2 amigos.
Right. You know what it was? I was trying to make a BLT.
Oh.
Think about it. So at first, I didn't have any teas.
Okay.
So I went to Aldi's and I said, I told the cashier, which I don't know. Man, I'm really turning it into an old man. Cashier doesn't care what I'm having for dinner. I feel like the guy from Progressive would be like, the cashier doesn't need to know what these ingredients are going into. But I'm like, I was going to make BLTs for dinner. And I thought I was going to be all clever and say, that I had the beads in there. And she's like, be hard to do with no teas. Like, no hesitation.
Nice.
But I got to thinking, imagine that sandwich with anything missing. Like a bacon lettuce sandwich. That's it.
I'm down for that.
I mean, really.
A bacon sandwich is pretty good.
Yeah.
Bacon tomato would be pretty good.
But lettuce tomato sandwich.
Right. And
it's really, you're not hitting all the points unless you got the B's, the L's, and the T's.
It is the trifecta.
Yeah.
Now you can build off of that, but there's something important I want to point out about BLTs is it leaves out a very important ingredient.
The bread. Yeah.
There's no S's in there. So technically it's not 3 ingredients. It's 4 ingredients.
Yeah, but like you've said before, the bread is the canvas of the meal. So
You've said that?
We've not probably.
Yeah.
We've not really deep dove into my obsession with sandwiches.
It's a problem. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys. There's a reason we haven't delved into it because I knew we'd have to start a whole nother podcast
about sandwiches.
Yeah, because Trevor has a problem with it.
Well, I
don't understand.
When I met Logan, he's like, I don't like bread. And then
I only like creme brulee.
I stand by that.
I wore him down
Bread's
Now he
just
likes
gross.
bread. No, it's not. You
You like banana
Yes, it is.
fossils.
you told me you like sandwiches now.
No, so
And I'm
the
to do with
issue
that.
growing up is that I had a buttig meat, like they're really thin slices.
I know
don't
what you're
think
talking
that's
about,
right.
Ben, and
I
you don't
don't-
want
that
that.
can't be pronounced.
It's
You-
budding.
Budding?
You don't
Oh,
want that.
well,
No, that's
anyway,
not lunch
So
meat.
I had wheat bread, one slice of that, wheat bread. So I'm
that's-
like, oh my, it's his bread.
Oh, man.
And it ruined it for me.
Vanessa's family had an old dog that was like in the end chapter of his life,
Yikes.
and he wouldn't eat dog food. That's what they fed him. Like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was like, he's been in the family. We'll invest a little more in his food, but we're not going crazy. We're going to use
Right.
this cheap lunch meat.
Yeah.
They're not going Lando Frost.
Yeah, of
They're
course
going
not.
budding.
Yeah, and, then,
Budding.
and they're not going back to the deli. Have you ever went back to the deli and ordered the meat to be cut?
Yes.
Been a long time, but yes.
The ladies there, I feel sorry for them because somebody clearly, some consumer is running them heavily through the ringer on the thickness.
Yeah.
Because they're like, how thick you want it? And I'm like, just relatively thin. And they're like, and they're like, is this good enough? And I'm like, sure. And she's like, look at it real good. And she's like turning it sideways so I can see.
Got her caliper out.
And I'm like, I mean, has somebody before, bent your arm behind your back and is like, make it thinner?
Probably.
That's the way she was like bracing herself for me to react in a really negative way.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, if it's too thin, I'm just going to put twice as many slices
Right,
on there.
yeah.
Like, it's okay.
Yeah, you double up.
Calm down.
You can't double down, or you can't like half it though. If you ask for it to be, who's getting it thick? First of all, who's like cut it thick, and she's like, it's like this thick, and they're like thicker. You're like, I'll take a half pound.
He's like,
one slice though.
I want it 3 C's thick. And she's like, say no more.
Shaving it off with a knife.
So I want to get into gun control because that is
It's hot right now.
it's gun
the rave.
That's something that we learned about this week. But we should resolve the sandwich problem.
What's the problem?
There was a problem?
Sandwiches are amazing.
I think we discussed
Some sandwiches.
all of the possible combinations for the BLT.
Yeah.
And their metaphoric comparison to the gun shop show.
Oh,
and
yes.
all of the ingredients and necessary.
So which
ingredients.
ingredient would you
So,
consider
like,
yourself?
for example, you know what I'm going to say.
I know what you're going to say.
But that's also because I haven't told the other chapter of the BLT story.
It's a two-chapter situation here.
So I was working in the deep freeze. I was reorganizing. I was preparing for an incoming shipment. I bought half a beef. Okay, so I was getting ready, and I find this bacon, and I was like, I need to do something with this bacon. It's been in here for a while.
Yeah.
So I planned the BLTs, right?
Of course.
Long story short, bacon had apparently gone bad.
Yikes.
Did that stop you?
No, I was going to eat it anyway. I didn't know, though, until I got a big old bite.
Oh.
And I started chewing. And it was weird. It was not really like a rotten. It was like an extreme freezer burn situation.
Oh, I gotcha.
Anyway, no, it was bitter. Like the fat on the bacon had clearly gone rancid. It was very unpleasant, and I felt
gross.
I felt it going to it wanted to come back up. That's how bad it was.
Have I told you guys about my cereal and milk experience?
No, I have a milk story too, but
it's really short. But anyway, Clarissa, my wife, had a bowl of cereal. And I was like, cereal sounds pretty dang good. And so I go to the fridge and I open the milk up and it's so strong. It's like the odor punches me in the face. I'm like, my God. And I turn to her and I'm like, how did you eat this? She's like, it didn't taste bad.
She'd eaten the whole bowl of it?
Whole bowl and drank the milk. It was
Yeah, the sugar offsets the sourness, guys.
It's like you put Fruity Pebbles in anything and it's good.
Yeah.
Like you put Fruity Pebbles
the
in
smell was so bad.
toilet water.
I gagged.
That's terrible.
You can make Kool-Aid out of Fruity Pebbles and water, right?
One time I was staying over at my friend's house growing up. Jake Shields, by the way, I'm calling him out right now.
Snap.
And, you know, we were 10, 12-year-old kids. I don't know how old we were, but I come in from outside and he's like, hey, would you like a brownie and some glass of milk? It should have been a giant red flag because we're 10-year-old boys. How often do they just think, my friend might like a nice cold glass of milk? He never was like offering me things. It should have been my first clue.
Yeah.
So he like puts it on a little plate. I'm like, oh, cool. And I take a big bite of brownie, and then I grab this glass of milk and I just start chugging it, and it was buttermilk.
Oh,
which is, are you familiar with like the buttermilk you cook with?
Yes.
So it's like soured, like sour cream, liquid sour cream. And it was not good. And I'm already not huge on milk. That may have tipped me.
Yeah.
I don't drink any milk now, and it's probably because of that.
I don't really like
You're
milk
brought
by
down by
itself
buttermilk,
either.
huh?
Yeah. So back to my bacon situation.
Let's go back to the bacon.
A lot of you don't know how important and significant bacon is in my life and my diet. So my wife actually made all of the bacon for the BLTs the day before. And this doesn't happen to me very often, but she pulls out this big bubbly thing of bacon, and believe it or not, it smelled great, which is odd for considering it ended up being bad. But I got a sense of what it's like for someone who was like addicted to crack, and then someone near them started doing crack, because I wanted to reach over and just eat fistfuls of bacon, and I almost couldn't stop myself. It wasn't dinner time. Wow. And that's how, like, I felt physically compelled. It reminded me of, we used to have this dog that would kill all of the neighborhood cats if they came around.
What a monster.
So he was. So we tried to, we're like, well, maybe he just needs to acclimate to them being around and understand that they're a pet and not a, not a wild animal. So I remember my dad like held onto his collar, and I brought this kitten toward him, and the whole time he's just like, just like he wants to kill it. Like all he wants to do is grab it and kill it, and we're holding it, and he's barely holding back. That's how I felt toward the bacon. Like I just want to eat the whole entire cookie sheet of bacon. All right, when we get back, we will talk about
gun stuff.
Gun stuff.
Control.
Joe Biden. He's making himself up a nice little BLT of ATF regulations.
AFT regulations.
ATF BLT
on the Gun Shop Show. Hey, podcast listeners and live stream viewers. I wanted to let you know that the Gun Shop Show is made possible by our friends at Mid-America RV. Being in the customer service industry, I have a really high standard for how customers are treated. Mid-America RV does it right. I've got my RV through their dealership, and I've taken it all over the country. We made it to South Padre Island. We've gone to Colorado several times. And if you've ever owned an RV, you know there's a lot that comes with it. So who you get it from matters, and it's extremely important that you have support after the sale. They're located just outside of Carthage. They have a really vast inventory, and they are home of, I believe they call it a forever warranty. So I urge you, if you're in the market for one, to check them out. It's a really fun and can be very affordable way to get your trips in. So visit them at midamericarv.com. We appreciate their support of the Gun Shop Show. If you're in the market for a travel trailer or fifth wheel, check out Mid-America RV.
Hey members, thank you again for joining us today. I have spent a lot of time talking to several of our independent program attorneys who have all given me the same great practical advice on what to do if you ever have to display or use your firearm to stop a threat. Always make sure you call 911 to report that you were almost a victim of a crime. Why? Because if you don't, there is a very high likelihood that the bad guy will call 911 and report you as the criminal. This exact scenario is illustrated by the story of Scott, one of our members from Colorado. This is what happened. Scott was exiting the supermarket when he was verbally assaulted by two individuals who were looking for an altercation. The verbal assault became so heated that our member was afraid for his life. Scott was forced to defuse this potential deadly threat by displaying his firearm and demanding to be left alone. Being the cowards that they were, the bad guys backed away. Our member, however, made a critical mistake, thinking the situation was over, and drove off. It was only a few blocks away. Scott was pulled over, handcuffed, and taken into custody. How in the world did this happen? Well, the answer is simple. The bad guys called 911 first and reported Scott as the aggressor. The lesson here is criminals lie. Scott was the victim of the crime and was charged with disorderly conduct, and only after a lengthy legal process, all charges were dismissed. Since Scott is a member of U.S. Law Shield, he ended up paying 0 attorney's fees. Unfortunately, this ordeal still disrupted his life. Members, please do not let this happen to you. Thank you, Scott, for sharing your story with us. Members, if you have a great story relating to owning a firearm or how your U.S. Law Shield membership has benefited you, we want to hear about it. Share your story at memberstories@uslawshield.com, and maybe we will include it in our next newsletter.
People are always asking me, Eli, you seem to get the best deals on things. What is your secret?
Glory actions and estate sales.
Trevor, I appreciate you jingling, but I have to say the ad part first because people need to know about the company.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to do it.
And then also, it's it's covering up my face. So
right.
just get a picture like from their Facebook page because that's the best place, and then just put it right up here where the Gun Shop Show logo is. Okay.
Yeah. All right, I'll do better this
and
time.
Then so let me finish the ad, and then you can jingle. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the best place to go is their Facebook page.
Oh, glory actions and estate sales.
You know what? Fine. I'll just move in between the graphics and finish telling people that the best place to find out when
Old Glory actions and estate sales. I think I got it that time, man.
Our member is involved in a brief road rage incident. One driver cuts off another in traffic, and harsh words and gestures soon follow. After the pleasantries are exchanged, our driver goes on his way, assuming the incident is over. However, still agitated, the other driver calls 911 and reports our member as aggressive, possibly having seen a weapon in his hand. In reality, what he saw was our member flipping him the bird. In an incident that can only be described as an overreaction by officers, our member is pulled over. When officers learn that he carries a legal concealed firearm, they arrest him despite a lack of evidence. This incident is just one of numerous member experiences. Be aware when traveling with a firearm. Any aggressive actions made by you, right or wrong, can land you in jail. Don't let it happen to you.
Buckle up, because belts just got better. With Core Essentials, the perfect fit every time. With 40-plus sizing positions. Styles for any situation. Whether in the boardroom, crushing sales and taking names, on your next adventure, in the great outdoors, or when you're done for the day and ready to relax. Get your perfect fit with Core Essentials.
In order to sponsor the Gun Shop Show, send us an email at thegunshopshow@gmail.com.
Listen here, Pilgrim. This here is the Gun Shop Show.
The Gun Shop Show, the Gun Shop Show. What is it? We don't know. The Gun Shop Show, the Gun Shop Show. Here we go, it's the Gun Shop Show.
I'm going to learn like 3 sentences in like Armenian or some. Is Armenian a language?
Sure.
Can you look that up?
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds.
I want to learn like 3 things and I picked this up from traveling.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes especially in an RV, you're like not sure if you're supposed to be where you are, taking a lunch break or whatever. So you find yourself like there's a chance that a sheriff's deputy is going to pull up and ask what we're doing. And I feel like if I could just quickly. And the beard already makes people wonder if I'm like Amish or some other thing.
Just learn Amish, bro.
But I feel like if I could be like, they'd just be like,
sounds French.
Yeah,
he's French Armenian.
Whatever. French Armenian Canadian. I feel like if I could just act confused and bark out a language that they'd just be like,
not worth it,
and give up.
Unless they start speaking it.
I literally can't even with this criminal, right?
That would be.
You're like, okay, man. I'm just. It's just a gag.
Yeah, we had quite a few little interesting things that happened on our trip that maybe I'll share if we have time. But I want to get into gun control because that's going to probably set the tone. It's going to lay the beat for the next few years on which we're going to spit our mad rhymes here on the Gun Shop
Biden
Show.
dropped several mad beats in his speech.
So let's go ahead and start with the presidential remarks that came out this week on gun control, and we'll talk about them as we go along here.
Oh, maybe we'll throw in a few gems here and there.
Who's let's put it on screen. Who's the lady on the right?
That is Eminem's sign linguist. Sign linguist?
Good morning. Over the course of my career, I have seen gun violence up close.
This is Kamala Harris.
I've looked at autopsy photographs. I've seen with my own 2 eyes what a bullet can do to the human body.
I'm on board. She already got
I've
me.
held hands.
I've pulled the trigger.
With the hands of parents who have lost a child.
Yeah. Pause it.
I have seen
She's like,
who were
I've ridden in the back of a 93 Caprice, strapped. I know what it's like. And I wouldn't have missed if I'd have had a stabilizing brace. So that's part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
First-hand
tell me
experience.
about this sign language thing. Because
the Eminem sign language linguist. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble with that.
I am not, I think it's sign language interpreter. Maybe it's sign linguist.
Linguist sounds right.
I don't know.
Sign linguist.
Sounds made up.
Well, I'm gonna mute this because I don't want Eminem blasting through our speakers. Okay, so
no way.
Yeah.
So I always thought that's what the rappers were doing themselves.
Making movements with their hands
I
and
thought
stuff.
all that was just.
Well, see, she's doing double duty here.
I'm
Not
so
only
confused.
is she rocking out right now, let's put this on screen for folks to see.
Yeah.
This is Eminem's sign linguist
/ Kamala Harris's.
at one of his events. He's rapping in the background.
No way.
He's the only white guy on stage.
I never thought about that. Would you go to a concert
That's
as a
what I'm
deaf
saying.
person?
Well, you would feel the beats. Like you would feel that. Actually, I saw a School for the Deaf football team and how they count down. They have a big drum out to the side of the formation or the scrum, whatever it's called, and they go
Line of
boom,
scrimmage, yeah.
boom, and that's the count off.
How do you know when to stop?
What do you mean? When the play's over?
When you get to the end zone, my man.
That's when, every play is a touchdown play.
How do you know when to stop? When someone tackles you. Yeah, so I never really considered going to a concert as a deaf person.
Right.
Well, we ate at this restaurant in Florida, and the manager or someone in charge of a really small place, and they made crepes. But she was deaf, clearly deaf.
Yeah. How is she clearly deaf? Is she like missing ears or something?
No, I mean, she would look at your lips, and you could have, I'm not going to do an impression of it.
Did you hit her with alligator food?
I feel like that. What? What is alligator
food?
It looks like I love you.
That's pickle juice.
That one too.
No, you guys are wrong. You're saying
Whoa,
your lips look like you're saying I love you when you say pickle juice.
They do.
I don't know about pickle juice.
Nah.
Alligator food's where I
Don't
got it
say
from.
pickle juice 3 times fast. Tell you that.
Huh?
How about the pickle juice?
Anyway, this lady, I don't want to do the impression, but she came out.
Gotcha.
And she, when a deaf person speaks, they have they sound different.
Where
'cause
were
they
you
can't
eating
hear
at again?
The Crepe Chef.
Okay.
The Crepe Chef in Florida. Anyway, and other people on her crew would sign a little bit to her, and you could tell she was reading lips. But she walks away, and I hear the other table be like, "No, I don't think she's deaf. I think she's just foreign." And I'm like, "Nah, you're wrong."
That's not how that works.
Let's roll more of the tape.
Okay.
This is the presidential remarks on gun reform from whitehouse.gov.
Biden releasing his latest hit.
Yeah. And if you've ever been to elementary school, you don't want to type in
Sibling.
whitehouse.com.
And I have fought my
Different
entire
website.
career
Don't go to it.
to end this violence and to pass reasonable gun safety laws.
Reasonable.
Time and again, as progress has stalled, we've all asked, what are we waiting for? Because we aren't waiting for a tragedy, I know that. We've had more tragedy than we can bear. We aren't waiting for solutions either, because the solutions exist. They already exist. People on both sides of the aisle want action. Real people on both sides of the aisle want
She
action.
looks like she's talking down to
So all that
real
is
people,
left
in case I know
is
you were
the will
thinking that they weren't real.
and the courage.
You thought
it was a bunch of mannequins.
You can tell the way that I'm holding up my finger that I mean real people, not fake ones. I'm not talking about fake
And
people.
President Joe Biden has the will and the courage to act.
What's up with that?
And
What's up with the finger?
control of
I don't know.
two branches of government.
As a United States Senator, Joe Biden
Okay,
took on
skip
the
her.
gun
I'm done with
lobby
her.
not
Yeah,
once
I
but
don't
twice,
really
and he
want to
won.
listen to her
I don't
In
want to look at her with a
1993,
finger in the air.
he worked to
talk about Joe like he's
For the radio listener,
joined today
she's doing
by
this
the
weird
Attorney
thing. She's
General,
putting her finger up by her face.
Eric Carlin,
like a
who
finger
I've asked
gun.
to
Yeah.
prioritize gun violence.
Regulate that.
It's also good to see the second gentleman who is here. And it's
Who's
good
the
to see
first
the
gentleman?
First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, who cares
the
deeply
second
about this
gentleman?
issue.
I wonder if
And
she
I
brought
look
her
out there and I
double
see
I don't
so
watch
many
the
members
news,
of
so that's the
Congress
first
who've led
time,
in this
literally the
fight.
first time I've heard the
So
second
many of
gentleman.
you who've never given up. So many of you are absolutely determined, as Murphy and others are, to get this done.
Huh?
We got a long way to go. It seems like we always have a long way to go. But I also, today, we're taking steps to confront not just the gun crisis, but what is actually a public health crisis. Nothing I'm about to recommend in any way impinges on the Second Amendment.
None of
They're
it
phony
impinges.
arguments suggesting that these are Second Amendment rights at stake from what we're talking about.
No.
But no amendment,
Trying to change the
no
What
amendment
was
to the
pause it for a
Constitution is
second.
absolute.
What was the
You
phraseology
can't yell
before
crowd. You
that?
can't yell.
What do you mean?
What was he? Where he's like?
I think he was saying names, but he
of
slurred
people?
them.
Okay. He's like, "Yeah, as much as y'all want of the big bottle of NyQuil, to get the, I know you want it as bad as old Murphin over there. He's getting over there. With
I haven't sniffed one in 30 minutes. I'm kind of getting low.
getting weak.
I need that sniffing high.
If we figured out that's how he
He's like, bring him over.
got his powers.
Oh, there we go.
He's absorbing the energy out of people by sniffing.
He's an
them.
energy vampire.
I have heard that.
That's
fire in a
nice.
crowded
I've
movie
heard
theater.
theories.
Sorry, guys.
I've heard theories that the elite gets their sustenance from the blood of children, and that's not true.
No.
There's no way.
No, they don't drink. Although they do keep finding dead bodies in on the royal properties in the UK. But
Really?
they don't know how old they are though. That property has been around for a long time.
Okay.
But
Oh, it's okay because it's old.
Right. And, they're probably just children that got their blood drank by the elite.
Yeah.
But that's probably not true. But
They're former whipping boys.
What kind of straws do they use?
Reusable for the environment.
I guess that makes sense.
Definitely not paper straws.
Yeah, because those get wilty and you can't get the blood
They're
up.
probably like Capri Sun ones that have that little knife on the end. So you just puncture right in. That's so dumb.
You just jab
This
it in.
blood's already coagulated.
And then you squeeze the pouch to get more volume out. None of that's true, though. None of
Do you know
that's
how
true.
many times I've had to take the
feel
straw
like
and
you have to say that.
I didn't go through.
And then it bends in the middle. I know.
But you never give up.
No.
You can't give up on the Capri Sun.
No. And that's what happens when you're drinking the blood of an innocent child. too.
We don't know that he's innocent.
That's
Okay,
true.
could have been a criminal.
Have you met
Could have bought a
children?
ghost gun.
Yeah.
Huh?
Have you met
snap.
these children?
Yeah, right.
These children are a public health crisis. I'll tell you that right now. Anyway, none of that is true.
Right.
But it is true that he gets his sustenance from the sniff.
Right.
Yeah.
That is definitely true.
Confirmed.
Or else
Sniff
he
treat
wouldn't be
possibly
sniffing so
And
many
you know,
people.
He looks good for being 168 years old.
It's true.
And that is because he gets the DNA and the essence from the children through the sniff.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know that.
Well, I have smell. Can he sniff me?
You can sniff anything with smell.
That was a
Yeah.
that was an attempt.
I got the reference. I got the reference.
I'm
That was
there.
good.
Hey, when we get back, we'll continue to break down the presidential address that is definitely not, might be an infringement of your Second Amendment rights on the Gun Shop Show. Hey everyone, the Gun Shop Show is brought to you by Carthage Lock and Key. If you need anything to do with a lock or a key...
To success!
Did they tell you to say that?
No, I just thought it sounded good.
They have a mobile service, so they can come to you and cut pretty much any kind of key.
To success!
Or if you lock your keys in your
To
car...
success!
I'm talking even security modern chip keys.
To success!
Trevor, could you just jingle the name of the business?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do it good this time.
So, with all of my properties and all of the needs I have, I trust
Carthage Lock and Key! To success!
Our evenings, or often on weekends, are spending Friday and Saturday nights on the deck with our friends. Before, everybody would be crowded. We could barely sit together. We were walking on top of each other if everybody was on the deck. Now there's plenty of room for everyone to roam around and relax comfortably and have plenty of space.
Specifically, I know that every post they bury to a certain depth with full concrete. They use 6x6 posts, strapping and hurricane strapping on everything. It's how I feel a deck should be built if it's going to be built right.
Hey everybody, Eli here, and I'm really excited to tell you that the Gun Shop Show is brought to you by one of my favorite places on earth. Located here in my hometown of Carthage on the beautiful historic square, the Emporium on the square, and the Woodshed. It's a art gallery, an event center, a gift shop. They have art classes, and there's very unique Americana artwork from famous artists like Andy Thomas. They handle a lot of his original framing. Just has this incredible old school vibe, and you can feel the history coming through. Have to check out the art gallery, but then as you work your way to the back, my favorite part, the Woodshed. Had a lot of great meals in here. They've got burgers. I love their catfish. Excellent. Chicken and waffles even. It's incredible. And it's also a music venue, so we got to see my favorite band of all time, the Ben Miller Band. Ceiling was literally raining down. They were rocking so hard. But the best thing, owned by one of my favorite people on earth, that's Cherry Babcock. Check out the Emporium on the Square and the Woodshed.
This just in. Huge cave found beneath the heart of the city. Spelunkers shared tales of an underground cavern system in Carthage, Missouri. Locals report the entrance to be at 10th and Garrison.
Cave Gang Pizza. Stop in and enjoy wings, wood-fire pizza made with local ingredients, and our full bar. Bring the whole gang and uncover a legend.
doing a little business on the side.
Busy biz.
Not on the side. I mean, it's just
No, it's
our
right
business,
there.
'cause
Yeah,
we're your
it's right
friends
there.
in the gun business. Here
Always
at
have been.
Liberty Tree Guns, and got a customer here that wanted to know how many mags that came with.
Looking for a gun. Because guess
Hook
what? We
'em
sell
up.
guns.
Man, you know what? I've been here. This is my 6th year.
Yeah.
And when I started here, I basically just knew what the military taught me about AR-15s. I knew nothing else. So just kind of give you a basis other than my Daisy Rider BB gun. I had a full-on conversation with someone last night about guns. As if I knew what I was talking about.
Well, you kinda do
Which is
now.
kind of alarming. Yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to go up to the gun store and get my CCW thing. I'm like, no, that's good, bro. That's good for life.
And you were like, the
could
gun
take that
store's
down.
right here.
Right. Well, I wear my Liberty Tree gun shirt to work out in from time to time. And so folks
snap.
talk to me about guns. And it's like I'm out on the sales floor and someone's asking me for help. And I'm like, whoa. You're going to want to talk to the guys in the orange shirt.
Our
Like,
gun tenders.
There's no guys in the orange shirt in my workout.
It's funny because obviously a lot of people, when I'm out and about, recognize me from the store, the videos we put out, just from coming in and shopping in person. But now even more so with the gun shop show and television, like people all over recognize me.
Yeah.
And some almost to a detriment at times, but it is really funny because I was walking through a store the other day and this gal, she's probably in her early 20s, comes walking by with a Liberty Tree shirt on. And I was like, hey, nice shirt. And she looked at me like, who are you? And why are you talking to me? And she definitely did not.
So you ran into somebody and they didn't know who you were, but they were wearing your shirt?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
And then she looked at me like, get away from me.
Creep.
Yeah. No, but I was probably at the time putting off what Logan described as serious dad vibes.
Yes. Yeah. He came in the other day with serious dad vibes on.
I mean,
he had like sandals or closed-toed sandals, which
you
pseudo sandals.
You don't just wear
you need
unless you're a dad.
Yeah. And I am.
That's true.
3 times over.
Remember when Crocs were a thing? Are they still a thing?
They're still a thing.
Dude,
You can't
they've
go through.
expanded.
Yes,
It's
right.
not just Crocs anymore.
What do you mean
Product
they
line.
expanded?
They have dress Crocs.
There was a time when I was like, Crocs are the stupidest thing of all time. Then I bought a pair, and I was like,
See why they
best
did it?
360.
thing of all
You
time.
180'd on that just like you did on the sandwiches.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you lump sandwiches in with like burgers and stuff.
you try and go. You try and go sandal shopping, and you're like 60% Crocs, and the rest of other varieties of sandals. But yeah, the Crocs have dominated that
space.
It's like peeps for your feet.
Yeah,
Peeps?
They're way too expensive.
Actually made in the
though.
same factory.
From the same material.
sounds believable,
Right.
but
Like
I
the
don't
Crocs
know.
are a byproduct or the Peeps are a byproduct of the other.
Yeah,
Like you make a Croc, you know all those holes in Crocs? Those are Peeps.
That's what they meant. They take
You
all
ever
the hole
tasted a Croc?
pieces.
Turn them into
Yeah,
Peeps.
it's
Warm
the
up
same
Peeps.
guy that invented donut holes.
Oh,
Croc holes are actually.
Croc holes.
I know. When I said it, I was like, did I just say one of the 7 words that aren't allowed on the radio?
Oh, man.
You're such a croc hole.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how we haven't accidentally said one of those words because a couple of them aren't really even curse
No,
words.
they're not that
it's
bad.
And those words are
Beep.
And you know what's bad is I was about to give an example. I'm really blanked off, but the blanked out version is actually sounds worse than the real world that you're not allowed to say.
Yeah.
Right. Like I need to stop by this this row of trees and take a big
Blank.
steamy.
Big steamy.
That didn't really help.
No one
Steamy.
No.
If it's cold out, it's steamy.
Yeah, but the people think a big old steamy pile. They don't-
right.
Yeah.
Well, definitely not a pile, more like a puddle.
You can't say. And then I'm gonna-
Ooh, what if we just spent time trying to get people to imagine one of the 7
That's what
words?
I'm saying is now as I blank it out, it actually makes it worse.
Right.
Because we're a pretty family friendly show. So if I say I'm blanked off, it actually sounds worse than the real world.
Your imagination runs wild.
Yeah, you put it in the worst thing. What were we saying before the sandal situation?
dad vibes.
Gun control.
Speaking of dad vibes,
Super
let's
dad vibes.
let's see what Daddy has to say on gun control.
Old Papa Control here.
Freedom of speech. From the very beginning, you couldn't own any weapon you wanted to own. From the very beginning the Second Amendment existed, certain people weren't allowed to have weapons. So the idea is just bizarre to suggest that some of the things we're recommending are contrary to the Constitution.
It's just bizarre.
Gun violence in this country is an epidemic. Let me say it again. Gun violence in this country is an epidemic.
Because he already forgot.
And it's an international embarrassment.
Violence in this country is an epidemic.
You know, we saw it again last night as I was
I have a question.
coming to the Oval
serious,
Office.
Serious. I'm going to get a little bit
Got
serious
the
with
word.
it.
Okay.
So, American history, although probably, arguably one of the most beneficial things for human civilization, we just underestimate. And the more you travel and you meet people from other countries, and realize like almost everything they reference, every sport, every musical thing was born, television, all this stuff, cars, all this stuff was born in our country. So it's kind of twofold. Like, one, you learn that not everything is, the world doesn't revolve around the USA, but historically, the progress that we've made as humans has happened in the United States. I mean, everything from cars to the personal computers to the air conditioner to all of these things that shaped the world forever, they were born out of our country. But one of the things that our country's always had is a violent
undertone.
We've been a violent country since the founding for various reasons. Conflict between different groups of people, conflict within it. I think part of the reason that, one, the country's had so much success on the world economic and warfare stage is because the roughneck people, the adventurous, the opportunity seekers gravitated here, right? Like, you weren't going to go leave your cushy, or at least it wasn't always cushy. That's part of the reason people left. But my point is, you were going to leave the old way and go out in the new way unless you were cut from a certain cloth. And that's what has made America strong. But its side effects have been, we have been a more violent than average country since our very founding. So my question to the listeners, let us know in the comments, and my question to you guys is, if something has always been a problem and is historically lower than ever, can you call it an epidemic?
It's a good question. I mean, it's certainly a philosophical one.
So I think I can ask that question. I think it's a valid one, and I could maybe create my own rebuttal to it, and we'll do that after the break. But here's the thing that cannot be ignored. Now, I'm not saying that there doesn't need to be real discussions, and I think that the work that you guys did while I was gone, the work we've done on the Gun Shop Show, has proven that we're not dismissive to the fact that there are issues that the gun community cannot ignore, cannot pretend don't exist if they want to be taken seriously and if they want to win this debate. But here's the fact that you can take to the bank. We're a less violent nation than we were in the 1970s. We're less violent than we were in the 1960s, the so-called good old days. We'll be right back on the Gun Shop Show. People are always asking me, Eli, you seem to get the best deals on things. What is your secret?
Glory actions and estate sales.
Trevor, I appreciate you jingling, but I have to say the ad part first because people need to know about the company.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to do that.
And then also, it's covering up my face. So just get a picture like from their Facebook page, because that's the best place. And then just put it right up here where the Gun Shop Show logo is. Okay.
All right. I'll do better this
and
time.
then and so let me finish the ad, and then you can jingle. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the best place to go is their Facebook page.
Oh, glory actions and estate sales.
You know what? Fine. I'll just move in between the graphics and finish telling people that the best place to find out when old
glory actions and estate sales. I think I got it that time, man.
Land is everything to me. When I was born, I was brought home to the family farm, was raised, learned work ethic there, learned appreciation and respect for life and the land itself, and it just became second nature. I had to be there all the time. Whenever I wasn't on the land, I was not happy. But I learned to understand the land, learned to respect it, learned family values. My wife and I have bought a farm besides the one we live on, and it has just been a great investment, and it's been someplace that my son and I have shared the passion of hunting together, and land has been everything in my life. It has kind of kept me focused and gave me a place to be. It's kind of kept me grounded.
Hey, you know what makes this, the Gun Shop Show, possible? It's people who believe in the show. And someone who has believed in the show from the very beginning is my good friend Chris Chapman, owner of Whitehead Farm Supply. Here's a message from Chris.
Guys, my name's Chris Chapman, owner of Whitehead Farm Supply, and I just want to take a few seconds here to let you know that we are going to be proud sponsors of the Gun Shop Show, and we appreciate everything that them guys are doing over there, and we just want to show them our support. Thank you.
So whether you have 2 chickens or 2,000 acres, Chris is your man. Give him a call. I guess that's pretty much the ad.
Whitehead Farm Supply.
Seriously?
Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma devastated the Texas and Florida coast, causing unprecedented damage. During difficult times like these, we tend to experience the best out of people, as seen in countless heroic images of neighbor helping neighbor. However, these events can also bring out the worst out of people, seeking to take advantage when you are the most vulnerable. From the moment rain and wind started, calls have been pouring into our emergency attorney hotline from members who were forced to abandon guns in their homes overtaken by floodwaters, as well as members who have had to protect their property from looting. Our member John was one of those callers after he was forced to use his gun. Here is his story. During Harvey, John and his son were combating the water that continued to rise in their home. Suddenly, John noticed a truck driving up and down the street, creating wakes. Each time the truck passed, it pushed more water into John's home. As the truck was coming back around, John's son went out to confront the driver and ask him to stop. John didn't recognize the truck as being from the neighborhood and was worried the driver might be casing the street looking for an opportunity to loot empty houses. Responsibly and legally armed, he followed his son outside. As John walked toward the truck, the driver started accelerating straight at his son. John, fearing for his son's safety, fired a single shot in order to startle the driver and give his son time to move. When the police arrived, they intended to arrest John for deadly conduct. He called the Lost Shield emergency hotline and was immediately advised by his independent program attorney. After the attorney talked to the police, they determined that a crime had not been committed because John acted in lawful defense of his son. Thank goodness John is a Lost Shield member and knew exactly what to do when the police arrived. We were there for John when he needed us most, and we are here for you 24/7 with our attorney-answered emergency hotline.
Woo! Been a minute.
Talking about the super.
You guys hold down the fort. I'm getting more water. For
He's
the next
getting
sip.
more water. Well, let's
snap.
put the three amigos up here. Me, Logs, and Joe.
Good old Daddy Joe.
We need a cooler can.
A cooler cam?
Oh, snap.
Yeah, we need one that just kind of tracks us around the room. That would be pretty cool.
Sounds like one of the 7 words.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to come through loud and
It
clear.
looks like one of the 7 words.
Right. It looks like a very well hydrated one of the 7 words.
Touche.
Definitely hasn't been sweating it out.
So, do you like Daddy Joe or Uncle Joe better?
Daddy Joe has undertones that I don't care for.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Also,
I think that's the point.
If I keep sipping this much, I'm really going to have to take one of the 7 words.
Mm-hmm. Well, take it easy, man. Good thing we have commercial breaks.
I don't want one of the 7 words in my pants. You know what I'm saying? It's been a while.
You definitely don't.
Still.
It's been
the
a
word
while.
gets replaced with one of the 7 words.
If one of the 7 words is cool, consider me Miles Davis.
Oh, well, hey, man, you introduced a question prior to the break.
You did.
Can you rephrase that?
Yeah, in case you just joined us, my question to the listener and to you guys is, if something has always been the case and it has not statistically gotten worse, can it be considered an epidemic? Let's look up the definition of.
I guess it considers
I think that's a good.
I mean, it matters
move.
what you consider an epidemic.
Well, I mean, what do you define
Yeah, exactly.
as an epidemic?
Exactly.
So let's go find that term.
I mean,
I assume that he used it in its intended use.
My argument is like if every year the novel coronavirus was spread around,
yeah,
would we be calling what we have now an epidemic?
Well, I can tell you
the flu is like that.
The top result is a widespread occurrence of an infectious disease in a community at a particular time. I'm going to deep dive a little bit on that definition to see if there's some alternatives that might be more applicable.
So-
Excessively prevalent, characterized by a very widespread growth or extent of relating to or constituting an epidemic.
So to me, the answer is violence is not an epidemic if it is not acute. Maybe there has been cases of something very similar to the coronavirus, and therefore it's not brand new.
Yeah.
The thing that makes it an epidemic is a huge percentage of the people have contracted it, and then a percentage of those people have died from it in an abnormal fashion. So you can call that an epidemic.
Yeah.
But an abnormally high, even by the standards of our entire history of our country, have not died from gun violence. That's just not true.
No.
So I don't think you can call that an epidemic.
I don't think so either. I mean, I feel I wouldn't want to get hung up on the word epidemic, but he did use the word epidemic.
He did.
So I would say gun or violence in general isn't an epidemic, but that doesn't mean that that's not something that is an issue, and we should be trying to work to reduce it continuously. It's a human condition,
right? And I say, I agree with that, and I think that. I think it's a mistake to say, well, that's how things are, or that is the way humans tend to be. Because the thing that makes humans special in the world and in the planet, in my mind, is we're the only species, and I believe it's because there's a higher power that has the means to decide that some of our natural tendencies are not okay. They're not moral. They're not. They're not a thing that you can do to other people. And so I agree. That doesn't mean just because it's always been the case, doesn't mean that we shouldn't work to reduce it and make it not always the case. Like if we could eliminate violence entirely, that would be obviously a good thing. I do take exception, because language matters, to say that we have an epidemic, because if you're having to frame the debate in a way that isn't true, it undermines my ability to trust the next thing that you say.
Yeah. For sure. And it's possible, I'm just saying it's possible that he feels it's an epidemic, because there's no real way to quantify an epidemic like that.
Well,
other than, this is grave, we need to do something, this is an epidemic.
Yeah, and it may be an epidemic in your world. If you'd never had if you've never had a horsefly bite you on the forehead and it happens 3 times in 1 week, you might say there's an epidemic of horseflies.
Well,
and
there has been seemingly a surge of gun-related shooting. What a dumb thing to say. Shootings that have happened in the last several weeks, more so that have permeated my consciousness than in the last 4 to 8 years, for that matter.
It is interesting, and we did seem to get a break from the shootings, and I think
it's the law of averages. I mean, if you have a stretch of 4 to 8 years or whatever without mass shootings, at some point you'll have mass shootings.
Yeah, it's just as possible that you're going to have several in a row.
Yeah, at some point this will happen in a chain of sequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that is possible. I'm sure that we probably have listeners right now that are saying, hey, there were no shootings when Trump was president. Now there's shootings.
Well, there was the Vegas one, which was pretty bad.
I asked my wife. She said, "Have you noticed there hasn't been any shootings this whole time?" And I said, "Was Vegas?" I couldn't remember.
It was
Vegas.
2017.
Okay. Yeah. I knew it was like not far into his presidency.
Yeah, it's what started the bump stock ban.
You're right.
I think the issue with mass shootings is the definition of what you define as a mass shooting.
Well, that can have a skew on it, and I was going to make my own devil's advocate argument again, to my point, my question that I posed, and that is these types of active shooter events. Now, mass shooting can be a little bit misleading in the fact that I think it is 3 or more.
I think it's 4 or more.
4 or more. So there are several instances, and this is terrible to talk about, but there are instances where there's a murder-suicide and a dad kills his wife and 3 kids, and that's considered a mass shooting. And it's not, I don't want to say, well, and we can't count that, because obviously whatever sort of conditions that exist to allow someone to do that or cause them to do that, or however you want to describe it, are still a problem. But I think if you wanted to counter the point that I made, you would actually want to describe active shooter scenarios, not mass shootings.
Right.
Because they're kind of 2 different things, and they're handled 2 different ways. And you could make the argument against my point, which was active shooters in the modern iteration are on an upward trend. So people who enter a scenario of people, an environment of people that they may or may not know, usually they have some familiarity with, but it's not like relationship motivated. It's not, I'm going, a lot of times there's, in murder-suicide situations, there's like love triangle motivations and other kind of things, but active shooters are like, I have a problem with life, so I'm going into my school or I'm going into my workplace, and they're may target a specific person, but then they're targeting whomever, and they're attempting to do the most damage, and most oftentimes with the intent of not living through it. That scenario is on an upward incline and has been since really the 1990s is when we saw it's kind of kicked off with Columbine, and we've seen more of those types of incidents, and nobody has been able to tell a correlation between why. We had firearms in the country up until then. We had violence, but we didn't have this type of violence with this type of shooter nearly as prevalently as we do now.
There are some theories as to why this is happening.
So as soon as we get back from the break, we'll break it down right here on the Gun Shop Show.
Commercial idea for net fishes. I walk into the commercial director, we'll call him's office. I say to him, "Hey, how's it going?" He replies, "Good. We got your commercial ready to go. Are you ready to listen?" "Yeah, but before I do, I have an idea I want to float by you." He says, "Okay," a bit sarcastically. And I say, "All right." And I clear my throat and I start singing this song, something similar. Net fishes, we're all really good friends, hanging out and stuff, and having memories to talk about when we were young. Snip fishes. And I say the business name wrong, like fish nets. He replies, that's terrible. And you didn't even say the right business name at the end. It's your business. Then it cuts to fish snatches. Net fishes, where we can all be friends. And commercial.
The Gun Shop Show costs money to make, and the Gun Shop Show is brought to you by pecans and cheese. Not really. Actually, we didn't have any sponsors for this segment, and so I decided that I would take a snack break, and also I decided if you guys are tired of listening to me eat cheese and nuts, that you need to buy an ad. So from now on, if our ad sponsorships don't sell out, you're going to have to listen to me eat nuts and cheese. In order to sponsor the Gun Shop Show, send us an email at thegunshopshow@gmail.com.
Next week, chips.
The Gun Shop Show, brought to you by little old ladies. They're little and they're old. They're little old ladies. Welcome back to the Gun Shop Show. I didn't have to go take a break for the sip cam this time. So that's nice for the listener.
Yeah.
And the viewer.
Yeah.
You know.
We can get you a mobile mic so that you can keep talking while you go to the bathroom.
Like a GoPro or something.
Remember that one guy that he kept while he was taking one of the 7 words and we could hear it on his speakerphone?
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, I'm looking at some mountains right now. It's beautiful. Psst.
I hate when people call me and I'm taking one of the 7 words.
Yeah.
Like, do I answer it? Do I not answer it? I don't know.
I usually typically don't.
Yeah, I'll just call
Depending on who it is. If I'm, occupado, I don't talk.
So where do you guys stand on conversation in a public bathroom?
No.
Where do you draw the boundaries, though?
If I'm in the stall, and I'm number 2ing, I don't want to have a conversation.
For sure.
That takes concentration.
That's not even, well, I would say that nobody disagrees, but clearly people do.
Yeah.
It depends on.
He said depends.
If I'm at. That's funny. If
it depends, then this whole conversation.
We're having a conversation, and I'm number 2ing right now.
Yeah. I'm number 2ing in my pants
in
right
fact,
now.
number 2ing is not even on the list of 7 words. You can say that all day long.
No, which is strange.
But is SH, is that one on there?
I think it is.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
But what if you say the first part and I say it? It.
I don't know.
Is that bad?
We're about to find out.
On the Gun Shop Show.
Find out if we got shut down or not.
No, but
on the Gun Shop
if
Show.
I'm home and my wife's talking to me, I'll talk back.
Oh, yeah. Well,
that's different.
Obviously, there's a lot of things going on between you and your wife at home that fall outside the boundaries.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Like spoiled milk and cereal.
Yeah, those are, everything's off limits then.
But
I know people that share a toothbrush, by the way.
That's uncalled for.
That's not cool.
Uncalled for.
Not cool.
I'm offended
That's
by
like
that.
washing your hands with someone else's water.
Or taking a bath in someone else's bath water.
I hate when people do that. It's so gross. It's showers for me.
Hang on, guys.
What?
Tinkling, I'm not
If you'd like to win this steel target from Liberty Tree Guns.
What just happened?
A 3/8 thick AR-500 steel target, which if you're not familiar with how a steel target works, you hang this up.
Mm-hmm.
Generally by a chain or a fixed point, but you want an angle.
Or a coat hanger.
You either want this to be able to move upon impact or you want it angled down. You don't want to create a scenario where you're shooting at a steel plate where it's affixed and it's at a perpendicular angle to you as the shooter because you can have ricochets. If you have it on a chain, though, when you shoot it, it deflects the projectile downward into the ground to a safe direction. And it's a lot of fun to shoot because you can not reset your target and you can It's kind of also, you have a tendency when you're shooting paper to be obsessive over bullseye.
Yeah.
When you're shooting steel, it gives you a more realistic experience in terms of if in a defensive situation, if I'm firing a handgun or a long gun at whatever distance, the important thing is, can I quickly and effectively hit something about this size repeatedly? It doesn't matter if it's right here or over here, 2.5 inches to the left.
Yeah.
That's not the important thing. And shooting steel helps you get a different set of skills developed. It's not all marksmanship training.
That thing is basically all bullseye.
And some people, when they're first getting into shooting in steel targets, they see the price on steel targets and they're like, really? For a little circle of metal? This one's $29.95.
Yeah.
The difference is this is not normal steel. If you make a steel target out of mild steel, which is that's what the industry term for just typical steel that you would make.
Regular old steel.
Yeah, it's more malleable. It's designed to be bent and formed into things, and it's very strong, except for bullets can go through it because it can kind of move. Hardened steel or armor plating or anti-abrasive steel.
Is that called case steel?
I don't know.
I haven't heard it referred to that, but maybe. AR 500, I think it's abrasion resistance. So in other industries, they use this on like the edge of buckets of bulldozers and heavy equipment.
I gotcha.
Because it won't bend when it hits something hard. But it's also bulletproof.
Yeah.
It's more brittle, interestingly, because when you harden something, it can't be bent. It'll just break eventually. But it makes it impenetrable to bullets within a certain range. So
most calibers.
If you shot this with a 50 BMG, you'd probably have damage to it. But
Big
you could
time.
shoot it with a 44 Magnum. You could shoot it with a 308, 223, and not do any permanent damage. Great prize. And you can win it today by doing what, Trevor? I'm going to let you take
Sharing the feed and tagging 5 of your bestest gun friends.
Absolutely. So we do that every show. It's important because it helps spread the message of the show. So if you enjoy the show that we put on here, which we do for you, now
the listener.
It's no secret that we want to be your friends in the gun business, and we hope that if you listen and laugh and enjoy life with us, that you'll think of us when it's time to make a purchase. But all in all, we do this with the hope that you enjoy it and it spreads some benefit within not only your life but the Second Amendment community, and brings us together. And so by sharing the feed, you help facilitate that, and you may win this prize. Last week, the boys, the L's and the T's.
Oh, snap.
Where was the B's?
Bruton, Logan, Trevor.
There it is.
BLT.
That's the show.
That was not planned, but here we go. Dropping the mic.
Oh, snap. Don't drop that mic.
No, I didn't know.
Do like me, drop a pin. That's
we had to really work it to get great sponsors like U.S. Law Shield, and so many others to be able to afford this microphone. That I don't want to drop it.
And this one too.
Yeah,
we need a dummy mic to drop.
Yeah,
like a community mic.
Let's get one of those old mics. One of the ones that just would randomly cut out. Go back and you want to know what I'm talking about? Go back and listen to some of the early episodes of the Gun Shop.
Oh, the constant buzzing.
Yeah.
I forgot that was the thing. It's been so long.
We slummed it for a while, guys.
We did.
With one camera just on Eli, you just hear our voices.
Not great. Not great.
Those have a lot of
And I'm like,
memories.
thank you, Eli, for that. Anyway.
I'm like, and what do you think, Logan? He's like,
I'm like, Eli, so
well, I'll tell you.
I don't know if you knew this, but the camera's on me, so
Logan's parched and he has to talk.
Anyway, last week these two fellas, L and T, they gave away a $50 gift card, and I'm about to announce the winner of that.
Who is it?
And that, I didn't recognize the name right away.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
A loyal listener of the show. And see, we randomize the selection.
Yep.
And I'm happy anytime anyone's name pops up. But when I know that name, because they're always in there supporting us and spreading the feed and shopping with us, like, it makes me even happier when I see that they're the winner. And this winner is, sorry, I made you guys start the drum roll early.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
But go ahead, kick it back off. Mr. David Pritchard.
Cheers.
Congratulations. If you're a regular listener and you follow the comments, you know Mr. Pritchard. He's in there like swimwear.
Appreciate it.
On those comments every time. And congratulations, you're the winner of the $50 gift card. And I want to remind you, if you want to win cool prizes, all you got to do is share the feed, tag 5 of your friends.
Good old
It's pretty
metal
easy
target.
to do.
How many segments we got left, Trevor?
We still have the last one.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
So, I mean, we got a little more of JB here, keeping the fourth panel there live.
I want to make. Oh yeah, he's just been over there
chilling.
Just
Joe, you good?
Whoever does that ventriloquist on him is just. They're not bad.
And they also have a really long elbow to hand reach.
I want to know how many batteries does he take? Because he's a robot.
No, lizard.
He's both.
You're right. That's a real conversation that we really had with someone.
He's a robot lizard.
They were making an argument that both he was a lizard, and you know why he stutters? This is real. Because he's a robot that runs off 5G, and they don't have all the hiccups worked out of the 5G.
They're running on 3 of 5Gs.
And I've never been on the phone and been talking, and my 5G cuts out, and I'm like, say hello. Nobody cares more than the Mumford and everybody's here, and the second guy is here, and the third guy, and the AFTs. I don't know. I kind of got it.
Honestly, if he's a robot, that's amazing. Like, that's crazy that we can do that.
Right? Make it seem lifelike.
See, I don't know.
It's just really bad robot
I would be blown away.
But why would you? If you could make him look like anything, why would you make him look like that?
Right? Like a robot, lizard robot.
That's true.
You know, Eli, that conversation that you're talking about, if I remember correctly, whenever you called the guy out, he was just like, well.
I was like,
like you just made his point for him.
I know. I'm like, hey, you can't. I'm not even really arguing either one of these points. I'm just saying he can't be a lizard and a robot. And he's like, I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's factual. I'm just saying.
And you were like, oh, with that point, yeah, I get it. I get what you're talking
I know,
about.
it's like-
Exactly.
Lizards can be robots.
Yeah,
too,
I know. I've
guys.
seen that too. Someone will share a meme and it'll be like, this person said this, and it's just like horrible stuff. And they'll be like, hey, that's well proven to have been false. And they're like, I don't care. Guy's still a piece of crap. Like, they don't
Every
care if
time,
it's true. They want to make their point.
I want it to be true.
Hey, stick with us. Are we going into the Shover Drive?
Oh, you betcha.
Oh,
Stick with us
every
for the
day.
Shover Drive at the Gun Shop Show.
Kids are curious by nature. Do your part to prevent unwanted tragedy from striking in your home by doing these simple tasks. Consider gun locks and/or gun safes for storage of firearms. Don't leave your guns unattended where children could reach them. Discuss with your children the rules of firearm safety. Sign your kids up for hunter safety classes. Firearm safety in the household is your responsibility. Do your part to prevent unwanted tragedy from striking in your home. For more information, visit JasperCountySheriff.org.
Buckle up, because belts just got better. With Core Essentials, the perfect fit every time. With 40+ sizing positions. Styles for any situation. Whether in the boardroom crushing sales and taking names, on your next adventure, in the great outdoors, or when you're done for the day and ready to relax. Get your perfect fit with Core Essentials.
The Gun Shop Show, the Gun Shop Show. What is it? We don't know. The Gun Shop Show, the Gun Shop Show. Here we go, it's the Gun Shop Show.
I got old during the break.
Well,
actually, I may have actually traveled to Florida and caught a bit of the old.
Did you really?
It's a sea of old people down there.
Oh, is it? Oh, yikes.
Yeah, I got grandparents that live down there.
Really?
Everyone does, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. I
One,
don't.
one half of my grandparents is down there. The other half of my grandparents, Kansas City.
Wait, one half?
Yeah, you have two sets of
Top
grandparents.
or bottom
bro.
half?
The second.
That's what I was wondering.
Oh, yeah. I thought maybe the bottom half was in Florida. Top half was in Kansas City.
If by top half you mean father's side, yes.
Oh, I meant
No.
their torso is in Kansas City.
I thought you were talking about other things, you know.
Yeah.
The top.
My legs are in Florida right now. You're just seeing the top half of me.
So
I'm walking on the beach right now.
How is the humidity?
Fantastic.
It wasn't nothing like that Texas heat.
I bet,
No,
dude.
that Texas, that's the driest heat I've ever felt.
There's some hot heat there, down there.
I'll tell you what, it'll make you black out.
Honestly, it feels like you open the stove and that heat wave hits you. That's Texas heat.
I've been thinking about the culture. So every now and then I like to go live that salt life, you know.
I know you do.
I like to get near the ocean.
Yeah.
And Florida, hands down, wins in the water and sand department, right?
How so?
The water is blue. Very blue.
So
Azul.
not like Stockton Lake.
Not at
It's
all.
like a green, brownish.
Not a, yeah. It's
You get a
not-
gulp of it, you're like, that's other people.
That's a melting pot of liquids. Yeah. Yeah. It's not like that. Texas, however, the water's not as pretty.
Really?
The sand is not as.
Have you been to White Sands? I guess that's in New Mexico.
Different sands.
Have you been to White
Zero
Sands?
beaches.
It's the best sand. That sounded.
It's nothing.
I didn't mean it like that.
Sounds to me like a volleyball court.
It's just the prettiest sand.
I'm making progress on that already. By the way.
Oh, nice. You've been looking around. I
snap,
ran by
I did.
there the other day. Didn't see any sand out back.
So there was one. I wasn't crazy. It wasn't quite properly installed, and it held water, and therefore people didn't play on it. But it wasn't like nobody was interested. So
good.
They're open to reconstructing one, and we just might need to make it happen. Get some people committing to that they would want to be involved with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting off in the weeds on the gun shop
Well,
show.
keep me in the loop on that,
I'm
man.
going to. I was planning on talking to you about it. I'm glad you brought it up. Talking about the cultures of the beach variety.
Yes.
I may just be a little bit flustered with the amount of people that were in Florida right now.
Everybody.
But I have a problem.
With Florida?
Yeah,
Yes.
what's your problem?
Lay it on Florida. I got problems with Florida too.
I enjoyed my trip. It was a fantastic trip.
Okay.
Nothing crazy bad happened.
That's good.
But the people in Florida, and what I don't understand because they come from everywhere, right?
Right.
Yes.
For some reason, when they get to Florida, they can't wave.
Maybe
They're
because
non-waivers.
Maybe because it's because of the violence.
Yeah.
I don't think it's especially violent there.
Oh, I have no idea.
Sure,
I was just
everyone
guessing.
chills.
That's the way it was in Dallas. You'd wave at people and they wouldn't even make eye contact with you. I assumed it was because of the violence.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
They're afraid of
Connect
getting
the dots.
robbed, so they don't make eye contact with people.
Well, and they may also be afraid of vagrants like hitting them up for money and stuff.
You would
And
think that-
Yeah.
I've been in those environments, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't know. And what's weird is the homeless people. They can spot. They know when you're not from there. I don't know how they
The
tell.
homeless people?
Yeah, the people that are going to ask you for money.
Yeah.
They can tell. And one of the places this happened to me was in Fort Worth. We kept getting hit up, and they would let other people go by. Somehow, I don't know if it's because you're looking around, like trying to find
Probably.
stuff. They know that you're an out of towner and more likely to fall for. Hey man, listen, I'm trying to get back to my kids, like whatever BS thing that. I wish they'd just come up and be like, I want 10, I'll settle for 5. I might do it.
Hey,
Just-
that's the retracting something method.
Yeah, well, if I don't have to listen to your fake story, I might just give
All right.
you money for the drugs that you want to buy.
That's some new wave hustling or begging.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could just tap phones and you get out of my face, I would maybe consider it.
That's why I want to learn sign language so I can be able to say.
You don't have to learn sign language to convince someone.
You can just flip them off.
I
Also,
don't wanna do
what
that.
makes you think the homeless guy is going to speak sign language?
No, he won't. That's the thing. He'll see. He's deaf.
That's a twist on my Armenian plan. Okay.
Exactly.
So ask me for money as if you're a homeless person, Logan.
I'd probably just rob you, but
No, I want to put this.
oh, ask you for money.
Mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
Hey man, can I get some money so I can get back to my kids and get back to work? I know you can hear me. I just saw you talking up the street there.
Yeah, I have intermittent deafness. That's what I didn't want to do earlier on the show.
Right?
Will you ask some questions?
Oh my god! I'd be like, you deserve to be homeless.
Yikes.
That's too far. Too far.
Yeah.
That is
Sorry,
too far.
I'm gonna take it back. Let's go back a few seconds.
So you already proven that your method is not going to work, Logan.
You just can't talk ever. And it works.
Because you were singing karaoke and they saw you come out of the karaoke bar and then you're trying to be deaf.
We're like, man, you have perfect tune. I know you can hear. I
know I have perfect tune.
Just say something encouraging, like, "Hey, man, we're all homeless on the inside."
Right.
And he's like, "I don't know what that means."
You know, it'd
but
be
sure.
great. And be like, actually, I was wondering, could I crash with you? I forgot my sleeping bag, bro. Just snuggle up.
I'm like, "Hey, man, what you wearing?"
I'll help you. I'll work this corner. We both get back to your kids.
You guys got someone to spoon with?
You know we do.
On the
Anyway,
streets.
in Florida, they don't wave. And like, I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't want to come up to you and I don't want to talk for 5 minutes. But here's my thought. This is just maybe my Midwestern sensibilities. You're going down a road, right? Whether you're walking or you're driving, you got nothing else to do, right? And you encounter another human being.
Yep.
I would do this with animals if they would reciprocate.
You hate animals, though.
No, I hate pets. There's a difference.
Man, animals,
Pets are animals
Animals
too,
hear
man.
about that, bro.
Pets are the Democrats of the animal world.
Whoa. Them animals be like, he hates pets. We have no hope.
I don't
you're
hate
supposed
pets.
to like your pets.
I struggle with the balance of value with pets. Some people are like, they give you unconditional love. I'm like, maybe they don't love me then, because all they give me is feces.
You talk about your cat?
And hassle. No, that was one of the 7 words. Hot and rot all over my legs. Smelliest batch I've ever heard.
Gross.
Anyway,
Yeah, the cat was like, I own you now.
Yeah, I was like, I've marked you. It's probably thought he was like, maybe that's some kind of, maybe that's how people get shown love, and I just don't know how to interpret it by the pets.
Just pee back.
Yeah, why don't you crawl up on his leg and take a tinkle to see how he likes it?
I'll take a big old one of the 7 words all over your bushy tail.
I would love it if that were the case. There's somebody out there that's, like going into their animal's enclosure and taking a big old steamy pile
Oh,
of-
you know it, because I know guys who bite their animals back.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, what?
What? You feel like you overdid it with that?
Yeah, I did.
What? What?
You can't tell me you've never looked at cat litter and you're like, if I peed in there, would it absorb it all?
In a cat what?
A cat litter.
Oh.
Like a little cat.
Could you fill it up?
Could you fill it up? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Off course.
We got an off course.
Eli's like, yeah.
What in the world? Okay, you're talking about Florida.
Yeah,
Yeah, their
waving.
state motto is we don't wave for.
Yeah. Look at these oranges and don't look for a wave.
How you going to wave when your hands are
Maybe
filled
they
with
never
these
learned to
oranges
wave.
that I'm selling?
Yeah. They're on our license plates. Oranges. And our flag, I think, or some crap. Also, be careful. It's hard to tell the lemons from the oranges.
What?
I'm just saying.
No, it's not.
Yeah, they're very orange. What color?
The
would
lemons
you,
are orange?
What color would you think a lemon is?
Yellow.
Apparently, that's only if you're from Missouri. They're orange down there.
No, I don't believe that one
I
bit.
promise. I
That's
promise.
like them calling
Ask Emerson.
all sodas Coke.
Yeah.
They're like, give me
Well, no,
one of those Dr. Pepper Cokes.
I think it might have been a type of lemon.
It was very possible.
Mayer, M-E-Y-E-R, lemons.
Maybe those are the, Anyway.
So there's orange lemons.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, probably a hybrid maybe.
No, it was not. It definitely was not like a blend between an orange and a lemon. It was just a lemon whose rind happened to be orange.
Gotcha.
And so, it's one of those things. I don't dislike lemons, but if I think I'm taking a bite of an orange and it turns out to be a lemon,
yeah, that'll mess you up.
Big time.
You go from like I'm gonna munch this to I wish I could squeeze this into some ice water. That's not an easy transition to make. But anyway, you're down there and you pass another person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Like if you're busy, your hands are full, you're talking to someone else.
Yep.
I'm not expecting that. But if it's just literally we're going to pass each other, not doing anything else, why not? Even the one finger wave, you got your hand on the steering wheel. Why not? You're a human. I'm a human. We're intersecting. Why not wave at each other?
Well, here's the thing. This is what I would advocate for you. Okay. Make the change. Be the change you want to see.
I was.
You're out there like waving at everybody like Dusty Slay. I brought Dusty Slay up. Naturally speaking.
Cut him out. No.
You mean?
No. I said it wrong.
Like Dave Coulier, cut him out.
I was just like, cut this out
and send it to him,
and tell him that we're over here on the Gun Shop Show having a good time.
Hey,
we're having a good time.
We're having a good time.
I tagged him in an episode where I was talking about our experience going down to see him, and he's blackballed me since then. That's a word. Blackballed.
No,
he's not talking to me.
Blackballed.
Blackballed?
He cut me out of his life, guys.
Blue-balled?
Dusty Slay.
I thought it was blue balled.
He doesn't like me anymore. That's a different thing, bro. That's enthusiasm. I'm the opposite of enthusiasm. You get cut out.
Anyway, do you know what I hate? I hate when you're driving and someone waves at you just as they're passing you, so you can't wave back.
And you're like, they're going to think I'm a jerk.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I hate that.
It's the worst.
The other thing I hate that's kind of similar is when someone offers a handshake and they preempt your grip.
Grab your fingers.
Yeah.
Make you seem like you can't handshake.
And I used to, like, we'd separate and I'd be like, they're going to go away thinking that's how I shake. But that's not my fault. You can't grab my fingers. You know what I do now? I ask for a redo. Like I'll you shake my hand like that. I don't care who you are. If you're the governor, I'm like, can we get a redo on that? And I give them the full experience. Handshakes matter and waves matter.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna, I don't want to ask you, if I can have a few minutes of your time. I just want to. That's all I want,
Did you want to tell them about your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ or something? You think that's what they wanted?
Maybe they think that's what's going to happen.
It is Florida, bro.
What do you mean?
Bible Belt down there?
Well, when I lived in Florida, TV was quite filled with televangels.
That was everywhere.
And there was street corner churches where they're pushing people over and stuff. I don't know what that stuff's called, man.
The Hispanics have taken over the terrestrial extra stations.
Oh, really?
The Spanish language very heavily down there.
Interesting.
But anyway, I was going to say a couple things. Like, I feel like you should just acknowledge another human. Just acknowledge. I don't know how many. It's also a signal in terms of safety and violence. I don't know. Like, why would you not want to wave if you're concerned about violence?
I don't know, and I'm not sure why avoiding eye contact and that stuff would somehow make you safer.
Well, I do understand eye contact with the beggars because they feel like that's an invitation.
Connection.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, has anybody ever attacked someone after they went, you're walking, you wave,
like he did,
and
what?
Then you're like, you come back and like, never mind, you're getting mugged. At first, I was just giving you one of these, and now I'm mugging you, and that's never happened. So I feel like that's one way to establish. We're walking on the beach. I got my cooler and my fishing pole, and you're walking on the beach. Like, I don't need to be like, hey there, where you from? How you doing? And they can be like, and I don't need to know. Like, I don't need to know if you're looking for seashells. I don't need to know if you're waiting on a call back from your divorce attorney. I just need to know that you're another human, I'm another human, and we're passing each other. That's all I'm saying.
It's a good point.
So no one waved at you? Like, how much waving were you doing?
All of it.
I wave on 100% of the time that I pass a person, or even a nod. You know, if we're intersecting, say I'm getting fuel and there's another trucker and it's busy, like I get it. We don't need to, but I'll give you a nod if we're pausing in this doorway.
I do something a little different. I do the whole, hey, how you doing? But I just keep walking. And so if they want to respond, they can. But I was also being nice. And usually it's just like, they're like, yeah, good. How are you? I don't say anything back.
Yeah,
that's established dominance.
I usually run up from behind and give them a big old bear hug. Give them one of those.
Yeah,
I'll wait for them to say something
that
back. If they
explains
don't,
why
it's no big
people
deal.
have not been making eye contact with you. They're like, that's the behind the back, grip you up and squeeze you.
But that's how they know how trustworthy I am.
I hate people that are good with names, and they're like, hey, Eli, how you doing? And you're like, hey, bud.
Hey,
Sport.
you.
Hey, man, what's up?
I had a buddy of mine tell me that guy is an insulting term.
I don't think it's insulting, but I will agree to the extent that very rarely is it used in a completely friendly manner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would say that, but at the same time, I wouldn't say that every instance of it being used is meant to be condescending. Whereas in the conversation, anytime it's used, it's 100% condescending.
You could say that about anything.
Maybe I know where we could draw that line.
Okay.
Do you guys want to get in gun control at any point, or?
And we do have this video.
Well, I just assumed that you're the host of the show. You do what you want, and we just follow along.
You drive this thing, man.
Yeah, you kind of drove it into a weird direction. Then we were like, hey, look at this over here. And then we kind of walked that way.
Yeah. So I'm going to finish up on the
waving situation.
Guy. No, anyway, they don't wave in Texas. They wave. Also,
in Texas, they wave a lot.
They wave a lot in Texas. Also, if you are driving faster than them in Texas, they'll pull over so you can go by them.
Really?
They don't do that.
I got passed on the shoulder by a lot of people.
That freaked me out.
What?
First time that happened. They pass on the right
At
on the
full
outside
speed.
of the highway.
No, I know what you're talking about. I just haven't experienced it.
It's alarming.
So the first time it happened to me, like that would have been like call back home to your parents moment. Like I was going 65 and this guy comes, he's a lunatic. They just don't use the passing lane. I don't understand it because, you know, in Missouri, you drop off that 2-inch ledge onto the shoulder and then try to get back on the highway at 70 miles an hour. Good way to die. Maybe they make their shoulders different there.
Maybe.
Everything's bigger, so you know the shoulders are bigger too.
We experienced that as soon as we went into Texas. Everything instantly
You know what the
got
best
bigger.
feeling of all time is? If you're going like 75, 80 on the highway and you're passing people and then someone like just blares past you and they're like in front of you.
Yeah.
And then they get stopped like right in front of you.
Yeah.
I'm like, it serves you right, man.
I had that happen on this trip. They go by and I'm like, they had to be going well in excess of 100 miles an hour because I am going 75 and it was like I was standing still. And then maybe minutes go by and then you see them. There's a trooper behind them and you're like, guess it didn't save your time after all.
Right.
Anyway, the guy thing. I think I know where the distinguishing factor is.
You got the line?
If you are referring to a third party who is not present or you're not addressed, I think it's when you address that person as a guy that it becomes quasi-confrontational. So if there was a guy in our guest seat right here and I said, and you're going to be really excited to meet this guy, and then I point to him, that's not offensive. But if I said, you know what, guy, let me tell you something. That's
I think it has something to do with your tone. Like if you were like, hey, guy. That sounds friendly.
Yeah, it is weird. It is weird how
it's all about intention and interpretation.
Those connotations.
I've been caught up in a lot of heated debates over silly things like that, defending that not everything's absolute, you know?
Nothing is absolute. Except that there are no absolutes.
And Joe Biden is
And
a
except for the
lizard/robot.
Oh, snap.
Absolute zero.
Who gets his power from sniffing.
Absolute
Yeah.
zero.
Okay.
Speaking of
They
that,
can't get to absolute zero, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I can.
You can't.
That's why they call it that.
No. You can't, because you can only get halfway there, always.
what are you talking
You're thinking
about?
of pi.
No. That's completely different. That has nothing to do
Pi's
with
a
zero.
fixed number. What are you talking about?
Absolute zero.
Pi is an infinite number.
The temperature absolute
Pi is-
zero.
there is no
You
resolution
can't
to
get
pi.
to absolute zero.
Two different things. One, pi is a fixed number in only that it's only one number, maybe infinite. And what do you mean by absolute zero? I got to look this up.
The temperature at which, like, all
molecules stop moving.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit out of the loop on that. Technically known as 0 kelvins.
You can't get there is an issue.
You can get there.
You can't
There's
get
a
there.
catch, though. Absolute zero is impossible to really reach.
Ooh.
This is, well, hey, I just read this off a Google search. I
No,
wouldn't
that's
celebrate
good enough.
right
Go
now.
ahead and just exit out of there.
This is from Glenn Beck's
You proved
blog.
my point. That's good enough.
From Glenn Beck's blog.
Conspiracy.
It's actually
just
his
kidding.
mom's blog.
The Scientific
It's not even his
American.
blog.
Right. Absolute zero, technically known as 0 kelvins. Yeah, okay.
Joe
so-
Biden's like, I got to absolute zero.
He's like, and Mumford was happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
Who was he talking about?
I don't know.
He's like,
He was talking about someone?
Yeah, he's like, I'll tell you, the second lady's having to be here, and I guarantee Mumford is excited about this.
You're talking about the second husband?
Mumford. I think it was two names. It was like Rober and Mumford.
He's
or
like, I'll
Muffers
tell
or
you
something.
about Rover and Mumford and Seymour and
Son.
Johnson law firm.
One of my favorite bands is Mumford.
And he was like, oh. Anyway.
Let's get into the gun control aspect of this.
yeah, let's do that. Want to listen to a little more of this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't expect for it to get off the rails like it did. Sorry, guys. I've been out of the
don't
game for a
understand.
while.
Yeah.
This happens every time.
We're going to have to rein him back in.
Sorry.
If you came to the gun shop show expecting absolute professionalism with no hijinks, you're in the wrong show.
You're in the wrong show, and I've been on the road too long.
Mhm.
It ain't easy loving a music man.
We're still dragging it out.
It's still happening while we're apologizing for it happening.
We apologize for the next 20 minutes and go off on a tangent about peanut butter sandwiches.
And
or
then we're
something.
like, take off our shoe, and that's the end of
Peanut
it.
butter sandwiches.
Guys,
Yeah, let's get into the gun control
yeah,
stuff.
play a little bit of it, and then we'll
we can talk about it.
We'll
talk with the
consolidate
the main
Okay.
points. Flip it around.
How to get in
Stuff's
slow-mo?
happening.
He's not in slow mo, but I
He
I'm gonna-
totally looked like slow mo.
am. I'm going
He
to
was
put
like,
it on 1.25.
Gentlemen,
Oh, don't do that.
who is here, and it's
So
good
it'll
to
make
see
it
the
seem
First Lady,
normal.
Dr. Jill Biden, who cares deeply about this issue as well. And I look out there and I see so many members of Congress who've led in this fight. So many
Probably all
of you who've
Democrats.
never given up.
Sped up.
So many of you
Yeah,
are
this is
It
1.25.
sounds normal.
absolutely determined, as Murphy and others are, to get this done.
Murphy and Rubber.
We've got a long way to go. It
Murphy
seems
and
like we
Rubber.
always have a long way to go. But also, today we're taking steps to confront not just the gun crisis, but what is actually a public health crisis.
We probably
Nothing I'm about to recommend
replaying some
in
things.
any way
That's all right,
impinges
yeah.
on the Second Amendment. They're phony arguments suggesting that these are Second Amendment rights at stake from what we're talking about.
But they are.
But no amendment to the Constitution is absolute. You can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. We call it freedom of speech. From the very beginning, you couldn't own any weapon you wanted to own. From the very beginning, the Second Amendment existed. Certain people weren't allowed to have weapons.
I think it's
So
interesting
the idea
that he's
is just
choosing
bizarre to
to
suggest that some of the things we're recommending
say
are contrary
that
to the
you're bizarre and
Constitution.
stupid. If
Gun
if
violence
you question
in
what
this
he's about
country
to
is
say,
an
which he hasn't
epidemic.
even given you
Let me say it again.
yet.
Gun violence in this country is an epidemic, and it's an international embarrassment. You know, we saw it again last night as I was coming to the Oval Office. I
Netflix
got the
password
word
share.
that in South Carolina, a physician
It's happening a lot.
with his wife, 2 grandchildren, and a person working at his house was gunned down, all 5. So many of the people sitting here today know that well, unfortunately. You know, they know what it's like when the seconds change your life forever. I've had the pleasure of getting to meet in awful circumstances many of you who've lost your children, your husbands, your wives. You know, They know what it's like to bury a piece of their soul deep in the earth. We understand that. Mark and Jackie, I want to tell you, it's always good to see you, but not under these circumstances. I want to say before I introduce the rest of the folks, is what a lot of people have not been through, what they've been through, don't understand. It takes a lot of courage to come to an event like this. They're absolutely determined to make change. But Mark and Jackie, whose son Daniel was a first grader in Sandy Hook Elementary School, Daniel loves sports, loves outdoor sports, getting muddy. I see my friend, Fred Gutenberg. His daughter, Jamie, was a freshman at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. She was an accomplished dancer. I see Brandon Wolf, who was a shooting at the Impulse, at the Pulse Club, nightclub. He survived, but his two best friends died. Greg Jackson, who was just walking down the street when he was caught in crossfire of gunfight.
I wish
and
our
of course,
government
I see a
felt this
close
way
friend of
about
Jill's
cancer.
and mine, Congresswoman Gabby Gifford, who was here, who was speaking with her constituents in front of a group.
So one of the well-known things in marketing is that you really, in fact, one of the things I advise young business owners and brand builders to do is not put a bunch of facts in their marketing. I mean, at some point you need to explain to your customers the way things work, but people have a tendency to say, well, I want them to know that I offer this and this and this and this and this. But the truth is, in marketing, you sell the feeling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You don't sell the product, you sell the way that it's going to make the person
The experience,
feel.
essentially.
Yeah, and so when you see anything, you see a Nike ad, they're not like the cushion, the sole, the strings. This guy's competing, and you know, this is what it feels like to be a champ. And what he's doing right now in the speech is telling you about this little boy and what he liked to do and his hobbies, and he liked to play in the mud. So you get a mental image of this victim, and whether or not there's a logical fallacy between that victim and what he's going to propose really becomes irrelevant, because you've just been told this kid would be alive if you do what I say. It's kind of no different than like Save the Elephants. And so the slow pan shots of the baby elephant with his crying and his mom's dead, so that you'll send in your money.
Right.
That's kind of it. I wouldn't even have a problem with laying out some of the rebuttals. Like, he's making the claim constitutionally we've always been able to restrict rights. Say that after you make your point and use that as say, okay, for those of you that are criticizing by saying this, here's my rebuttal. That's fine. But to set the stage, one, to say, it's just bizarre that anybody would even question what I'm about to say, which you don't even know what it is.
It's been like this since the beginning, right?
You're still
dawn of time.
It's just it's unfathomable that you disagree with me,
right?
It's easy to spot. Okay, keep going.
I'm gonna rewind it a little bit here, guys. Been letting it go.
What a lot of you, hopefully many of you, don't know is you've gone through a trauma. No matter how much you work to make sure others don't go through it, every time you show up at an event like this, it brings back when you got that phone call. It brings back the immediacy of what happened at that moment.
Still,
so I genuinely mean it. Thank you. Thank you for having the courage.
No
the courage to
facts
be
yet.
here. The courage to continue this fight.
Skip a little bit.
Senator
so we get
Blumenthal
through any of the
understands it.
emotion into
a lot of the folks
policies.
out here understand it. But it takes real courage, so thank you. To turn pain into purpose and demand that we take the action that gives meaning to the word enough. Enough, enough, enough. Because what they want you to know, what they want you to do is not just listen. Every day in this country, 316 people are shot every single day. 106 of them die every day. Our flag was still flying at half staff for the victims of the horrific murder of 8 primarily Asian American people in Georgia, when 10 more lives were taken in a mass murder in Colorado. You probably didn't hear it, but between those two incidents, less than 1 week apart, there were more than 850 additional shootings. 850. That took the lives of more than 250.
I'm torn with what I'm about to say.
Ooh, yikes.
Because I don't want to be any different than, I don't want to be singular. I don't want to be dismissive of those statistics because I don't think that works. I don't think to say, yeah, well, but, and throw in technicalities because it's not enough. But of those 300 so-called shootings, a very, very high percentage of those are suicides.
Yeah.
And a huge portion of the deaths are suicides. Now, that's a problem that we need to address, but I don't know that problem is solved by gun control.
No, right. I agree with you.
But we know that 22 veterans, and veterans only make up statistically, I don't know how many of our entire United States population are military veterans, but it can't be more than the 30% of the public having served. Can you look that up, Trevor?
What do you want me to look up?
What percentage of Americans have served in the military? See if we have an answer. But we know, we've had on the organizer of Charlie 22, and the name 22 comes from the amount of veteran suicides that happen per day.
Terrible.
Yeah, and a lot of those are 1%.
This is according to CFR.org. I'm not sure. Council on Foreign Relations, Demographics of the U.S. Military. At one time, the active component of the military, excluding the Coast Guard, comprised 1.9 million men and women, or about 1% of the population.
Also, I think that's active. I'm curious. If you
past tense of all time.
But I think I've heard that it's in the upper teen, like 13% or 17% of the public served at one time. And that fluctuates because, obviously after World War II, a big percentage of people had served in the military, and our army's not that big anymore. But anyway, 22 of those suicides a day are veterans. A big percentage of those die by method of gunshot wound. And of that, 106 people a day that die from gun wounds are suicides. And so it's easy to say 300 people are getting mowed down. It's just not true. It's not an accurate way to describe that. It's not a fair way to describe the violence.
I would say, in my opinion on that, I would say that it's not fair to not mention that. If he's saying 316 people die per day, he could just as easily say that doesn't include suicides, if you want to underscore that. Because right now it's a little arbitrary in that 316 people die by gunshot every day.
The issue is you remove those suicides, the number is significantly smaller, and it doesn't push the narrative as far as
you're correct. I wouldn't doubt that.
And it's hard to say we should restrict everyone's rights for an occurrence that is less than people who die from allergic reactions to bee stings.
Right.
And so the numbers have to be skewed in order to make the feel-gooder or the do-gooder crowd feel as though they can latch on to this idea and help further it.
Well, I mean, I'm an optimist. I want to make a couple of points, but I'm an optimist, and I would like to assume that Democrats aren't out to try to take all guns away from people and control us through dominance like some sort of monarchy or totalitarian government. I would hope that what they're doing is with the intent of trying to improve civilization and help us reach a utopia. But my utopia is a place where I have all the freedoms I can have, all the liberties I can have, as long as it doesn't hurt someone else, without all of the dangers that come with that. And you can't balance that out unless violence becomes less and less of an issue. But at the same token, cancer is worse almost on any level. I mean, I think heart disease, like if you want to really talk about epidemics, it would be much better if a president was like, you know what, and started telling stories about cancer. I mean, people who get cancer get it out of, for reasons that don't have to do with violence. It happens. It's an epidemic. We could spend time and effort trying to resolve that. But no, here we are dealing with a situation where there's so much misinformation just thrown into it to confuse the public into making decisions that aren't rational decisions.
Especially if you were to draw the comparison of the number of people who die. Like if you take suicides out and you realize that, probably in the less than 50 people die a day from non-self-inflicted gunshot wounds, from getting killed by someone else with a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And you compare that to cancer, which is in the thousands of every single day someone dies from cancer and heart disease. It takes away the power of it. And so I certainly don't think you could debate the upper levels of the political parties and what their intent is, but I certainly don't think your average neighbor Democrat wants a totalitarian approach and and it has deep-seated bad intentions for other humans. I don't think that either. Well, the reason I've taken the time to stop and remark on this is that neighbor Democrat that is going to follow and support and further the arguments that he's getting ready to make is only doing so based on how they're packaged and how it's sold.
Oh, guaranteed
to them. And so that's why I feel the need to take the time to say, I will engage on the topic when we're within the truth of the debate, which is too many people die by suicide by firearm.
Mm-hmm.
Too many people die in active shooter situations.
Too many people die at the hands of someone else.
Yeah.
Full stop. You don't have to enter guns into that debate. That's what it is.
And I'm even okay with entering guns. How do they contribute, or how does their existence affect those things that should matter to us as a civilization?
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that. But don't start off by lying to me. Yeah. Let's go into more of it.
50 people and left 500 injured. This is an epidemic, for God's sake, and it has to stop. So I'm here to talk about two things. First, the steps we're going to take immediately. And second, the action that needs to be taken going forward to curb the epidemic of gun violence. I asked the Attorney General and his team to identify for me immediate, concrete actions I could take now without having to go through the Congress. And today I'm announcing several initial steps my administration is taking to curb this epidemic of gun violence. Much more need to be done, but the first, I want to rein in the proliferation of so-called ghost guns. These are guns that are homemade, built from a kit, that include directions on how to finish the firearm. You can go buy the kit. They have no serial numbers, so when they show up at a crime scene, they can't be traced. And the buyers aren't required to pass a background check to buy the kit, to make the gun. Consequently, anyone from a criminal to a terrorist can buy this kit in as little as 30 minutes, put together a weapon. I want to see these kits treated as firearms under the Gun Control Act, which is going to require that the seller and manufacturers make the key parts with serial numbers and run background checks on the buyers when they walk in to buy that package. The second action we're going to take. Back in 2000, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms released a report on its investigations of firearms trafficking in America. The report was of pivotal value. It was an important tool for policymakers when I was in the Senate and beyond at all levels, to stop firearms from being illegally diverted into dangerous hands. Today,
in real life.
with online sales and ghost guns, times and trafficking methods have changed, and we have to adjust. We also have to ask the Justice Department to release a new annual report. This report will better help policymakers address firearms trafficking as it is today,
I would
not what it was yesterday.
The feeling I would have.
The third change: we want to treat pistols modified with stabilizing braces with the seriousness they deserve.
I mean, their
stabilizing brace within a pistol essentially makes that pistol a hell of a lot more accurate than a mini rifle. As a result, it's more lethal, effectively turning it into a short-barreled rifle. That's what the alleged shooter in Boulder appears to have done. I want to be clear that these modifications to firearms that make them more lethal should be subject to the National Firearms Act. The National Firearms Act requires that a potential owner pay $200 fee and submit their name and other identifying information to the Justice Department, just as they would if they went out and purchased a silencer for a gun. Fourthly, during my campaign for president, I wanted to make it easier for states to adopt extreme risk protection order laws. They're also called red flag laws, which everybody in this lawn knows, but many people listening do not know. These laws allow a police or family member to petition a court in their jurisdiction and say, I want you to temporarily remove from the following people any firearm they may possess because they're a danger in a crisis. They're presenting a danger to themselves and to others. And the court makes a ruling. To put this in perspective, more than half of all suicides, for example, involve the use of a firearm. But when a gun's not available, an attempt at suicide, the death rate drops precipitously. States that have red flag laws have seen a reduction in the number of suicides in their states. Every single month, by the way, an average of 53 women are shot and killed by an intimate partner. I wrote the Violence Against Women Act. It's been a constant struggle to keep it moving. We know red flag laws can have significant effect in protecting women from domestic violence. And we know red flag laws can stop mass shooters before they can act out their violent plans. I'm proud, excuse the point of personal privilege we used to say in the Senate, I'm proud that the red flag law in my home state of Delaware was named after my son, Attorney General Beau Biden, our son, excuse me, Joe, who proposed that legislation back in 2013. I want to see a national red flag law and legislation to incentivize states to enact their own red flag laws. Today, I asked the Justice Department to publish a model red flag legislation so states can start crafting their own laws right now. Just like with background checks, the vast majority of the Americans support these extreme risk protection order laws. And it's time to put these laws on the books and protect even more people. The Attorney General will have more to say about this in a moment. Additionally, we recognize that cities across the country are experiencing historic spikes in homicides, as the law enforcement can tell you. The violence that's hitting black and brown communities the hardest. Homicide is the leading cause of death of black boys and men ages 15 to 34.
Break those down.
The leading cause of death.
Let's break those down. So I'm not shocked at the targeting of the gun kits. And also I'm curious to know, like, I don't know of any instances, I'm not saying they don't exist. I don't know of any instances where prohibited persons have used the kit and been the suspect in a major shooting. If there is one, I'd like to know that. Let me know in the comments if you know of a major shooting that involved the use of a so-called ghost gun, but what they mean is a gun built for personal use, which there's a long history of you having the right to manufacture your own firearm for your own personal use. It can't be commercially, so a lot of the constitutional authority to regulate things come from the ability of the government and the longstanding precedent that the government can regulate commerce. So interstate commerce especially falls under the purview of the federal government. If you're going to build something and sell it across state lines, then you may be subject to those regulations. And so that's why manufacturers have to follow these rules. And then an individual who wants to make something from scratch, this is a long-standing tradition, American tradition, to be able to make your own thing, even if it is subject to regulation and a normal fact. So you can build your own car, and there's guys that do it. Like you can build a car from scratch, and there's a way to get it on the road and legally drive it. And you don't have to do all of the same things that a car manufacturer does. And so that's the topic. But the thing of the four things that he mentioned, I do think the stabilizing brace, although Trump paved the way with the bump stock ban, I mean, it was just asking for braces to, there's precedent now. And unfortunately, a lot of you as Republicans, by being mum when that happened, because it was Trump, have made this argument harder to make and made this row a little harder to hoe, in the fact that everybody said bump stocks are ridiculous. I don't need one. I don't want one. I'm fine with Daddy Trump banning it. And now that a very, I say similar, they don't function the same, but they go in the same spot. Stabilizing brace, which does not make a gun more lethal.
Right.
Is now coming under the same purview. But of all those four, The very most dangerous one is the red flag laws. Not even because the premise doesn't make sense. It's because this falls outside of the norm of our justice system in the fact that you are not innocent until proven guilty.
Right, you're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, that's the scary thing. I could call up and be like, Trevor's been saying some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And then law enforcement would step in, take all your guns away.
And then you have to work to get it back.
And then they would decide when you're eligible to get those guns back.
And that has been the system in place in every third world, backwards, corrupt. I mean, you hear about things that happen within government in Central America, and that's, so-and-so who made the governor's brother mad, just got locked in prison and then may or may not ever get out, or there really has to be an uphill battle to do that. That has never been the American tradition. That's why we have a system that is designed to be innocent until proven guilty. And to me, and this may sound overly brash, but I feel as though that premise is so worth protecting that we can embrace it even at some degree of expensive danger.
Well, I'm an optimist. I mention that a lot, but I do acknowledge the fact that pre-national or federal red flag laws, and they may not even exist in my town, I do understand that if the government desires to implant itself in my life, it's going to be a very expensive and long journey to try to remove that. And now we're talking about more government intervention in our freedoms. It can't happen.
No, and now's the time to resist this, and it needs to be resisted at the level of implementation. Another reason why our republic is designed in the way it is, with the decentralization of enforcement. There's a reason why if you get arrested for murder, it is not the feds that come. You don't get tried in federal court. Criminal laws are enforced by the county and then the state in which you reside. And that is because if any branch of the government does something that is abusive, it is harder to get down to the granular level and get the deputy that lives in the town and goes to the church and is the coach of the t-ball team to come to your door and take your guns with no due process. And so now is the time to resist this at the level of implementation, at the sheriff's office, at the state agencies. Now is the time for things like the Second Amendment Preservation Act, which is a resistance on the state level of things like red flag laws. And it's messy. A lot of people don't, a lot of people have a very oversimplified take on what that means. Like I met a guy on the street and he's like, man, I think we're in for some trouble with what's going to happen with Biden and gun control. I'm like, yeah, we may be. He's like, but Missouri passed the thing, said we're all exempt. And like he was ready to wash his hand of it. And it's not that simple.
Nope.
It's a good thing because what that is undermining the ability to enforce something that's wrong, especially like at its core, if they believe in red flag laws and the majority of people believe in that in California and their state government plays ball more, that may not reflect the opinion of the majority of Missourians and doesn't. And so the idea that we have some insulation through that by our local representation is a valuable thing.
Well, I certainly appreciate those things, and if California wants to do something, I'm all for allowing them to do what they want to do. They can be the experiment, but when California law affects me in Missouri, that's where I have issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that some of those places like Illinois and California specifically with their gun laws and still gun issues overall, those are pretty much just testing grounds in my opinion. But now it's starting to leak into federal politics and federal laws that are going to affect me. And I'm going to give you the stay on my face.
And to the listener, I got to say, thanks for having me back in your ear holes.
Welcome.
On your cell phone screens. It's good to be back. Enjoyed some good time off with my family. I may have lost a little bit of stamina for this because I'm feeling like
it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, I'm tired.
It does. But I'll tell you what, man, this was a marathon one.
Yeah, I don't know how long we went, but it's
long.
Pushing Trace.
But I'm going to take my closed-toed... For the radio listener, I'm wearing closed-toed sandals.
Are you?
Not really.
Okay.
He said for the radio listeners.
Yeah. And then they're in front of the screen.
For radio listeners, I'm wearing blank chaps. Gun Shop Show.
We're not even on the radio.
Yeah. Well, it's a family-friendly show. I want to say asshole.
Oh, man.
Or
You can't say both wrong.
I didn't. I said shh. Comma.
You gotta let one of us like shh.
Sometimes you just gotta wash it before you can use it.
Just say it faster. You gotta wash it.
It works.
I don't understand how any gun owners are gonna. No. If I went to a gun store and just bought,
Throw it at the wall. See
Like-
what sticks.